Sports Business Studios, 97.5, The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It is a football Friday, which means we get to talk about an upcoming Eagles game. Question is, what the hell are we talking about? Who is this team? Why is it nothing that we expected it to be? It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
I don't give a damn that it was just the Giants. It was the Saquon show. It was amazing to watch.
Him and the entire team, they just dominated an opponent, and that's what everyone is asked to see.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Friday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, happy Friday.
It is a really happy Friday. Beautiful day ahead of us. Beautiful weekend ahead of us.
And no 4 a.m. alarms for the next 2 days.
Yeah, that's not bad. And
a beautiful thing.
And a game that, honestly, I thought later in the week I'd know more about it. I do not.
No, I mean, we started talking about it yesterday about the no feel on the upcoming game. And it's interesting, and we'll get into it. That almost adds to your confidence, whereas to me, I don't know what it adds to. Like, I have no idea what the hell's going to happen this weekend. I'm obviously hoping for a victory, and I'm hoping that they continue to play well on defense and the offense finds this identity that I can't believe it's taken this long to try to figure out what the identity is when we all kind of knew what it was before the season started. I hope all these things happen. I'm just not 100% sure. Joe Burrow is playing like his hair's on fire right now. Like, he's playing very good football. The Bengals have won 2 straight games, just like the Eagles have. Their last loss was that incredible game against the Ravens where it went into overtime. So I don't know who this Bengals team is actually after their slow start. I don't know who this Eagles team is actually. So we're going to talk about Eagles-Bengals and the feel that we don't necessarily have on this game. But
my hands aren't even operating. It's like I got no feel in this game.
Do we have a feel on this team? Period is a question.
Well, it's one of the things we talked about yesterday post-show. I honestly think, and you do this job every day, and you create content, and we talk about all the different storylines. I got to say, a lot of the stuff we talked about in the postseason, we were completely wrong about. And I don't feel guilty about any of it.
No.
Like, I don't feel like we were off base. I don't think that we were misinformed. The stuff that I thought I was going to see with my eyes in the first 2 months of the season, which really ends on Sunday, I really believe should have happened. And the stuff that I really didn't expect to see has happened. And I say to myself, did I get it wrong? Did my eyes get it wrong? Did our discussions not go deep enough? But honestly, if anyone had told me the first 2 months would have played out like this, Andrew, I would have said, you're full of it.
Right, exactly.
I wouldn't have expected it.
I don't think it's that we didn't dive deep enough into it. I mean, what was the talking point? The Eagles' offense is going to have to win football games for this team. The defense.
I said they'd average 27 or above.
And they needed to in order to win.
To cover the defense.
And that's not been the case so far. If we said to you before the season started, hey, they'll be 4-2 through 6 weeks, I think people could see that happening.
Yeah. No, I would have been fine. It's like it's. Have you ever driven? Well, you know what? We go to work in the morning.
Yes.
Have you ever driven someplace and when you stop the car, you go, okay, you either got into the music or you were sort of daydreaming.
Right. You didn't realize that you got to work.
You're like, dude, I can't even believe I'm already where I thought.
Well, it happens a lot at 4:25 in the morning.
It does, and that's not a good thing, by the way, on the Schuylkill. But to me, I think it's almost like that. We've arrived at 4-2, a very pivotal game at the end of October, and I swear to you, I have no idea how we got here.
Now, it's interesting. So let's start with this question, because I have 3 different questions. We have 3 different questions.
Sure.
You were the one that came up with the topic. 3 different questions to start the show this morning. Question number 1 that we'll all discuss. And Tom Alvord is in for Connor. Tommy, good morning. What's going on, man?
Boys? What's going on?
Tom, another part of wedding season.
Yeah, I know. We got Connor and Brendan are both out because of wedding season. Tom will be out soon because of wedding season.
We're going to give Tom some marital advice.
Yes.
Today.
2 weeks tomorrow.
We're going to give you some marital advice today.
Great.
Yeah, I'm sure
Okay,
he's
no,
really,
it'll
he
help
really,
you.
he
No,
really
thank you.
wants it.
Take notes.
I'm excited.
Question number one.
I can hear it in his voice.
What was the biggest miss that we had leading up to this Eagles season? Now, this is an interesting question because obviously the defense is where we'll all look at first, right? Like,
I do not, so it's interesting.
Okay.
I know that this was going to be the question. I do not, but that's good.
so,
I think most people would absolutely agree with what you just said.
but it's funny because there's levels to it, right? So, what was the biggest miss we had leading up to this Eagles season? All right, nobody probably thought that the defense would be a top 10 defense in terms of yards allowed per game. They're 9th, and points allowed per game. They're what, 7th or 8th?
Top 7.
Right. Like nobody thought that was
Nobody.
going to happen. But I thought the pass rush was going to suck. And it did up until the last 2 weeks.
And now it's one of the better in the NFL.
Did they have a good pass rush because it was Deshaun Watson and then Daniel Jones and that Browns offensive line and that Giants offensive line? We will see as the games continue to unfold. But for the first 4 weeks, the pass rush was non-existent. And yet they were still a top 10 scoring offense and a defense and a top 10 yards per game allowed defense. They were still playing at a level higher than what we expected. It was amazing that they were winning games and keeping teams below 25 points despite the quarterbacks not working up a sweat. Like it was amazing. So I wasn't necessarily wrong about the pass rush, but I was completely wrong about the defense. Like it's amazing.
We were completely wrong on the pass rush.
Why?
Everybody was completely wrong.
They've had 2 good games.
I don't care. Everybody in the league gets to play bad teams. So I don't want to hear about that.
Okay.
That's BS. And everybody plays bad teams in the NFL where they can pack their stats. We were completely wrong on the pass rush. The pass rush we thought was comedic, awful, worst, terrible. 2 weeks into the year, people were talking about it being like that guys were busts. I remember Jalen Carter was a bust.
I heard that
2 weeks
too.
into the year.
That was not us. Let's make that clear before somebody goes, oh, which one of you said that?
No, but I did hear that.
Yes.
And to me, so I think everybody was wrong on that one. But I understand what your point is as far as, yeah, they've padded the stats the last couple of weeks. They absolutely have. But you know who else gets to play those teams too? All the other teams in the NFC. Everybody else in the NFC, everybody else in the AFC gets to play bad teams too.
I will say this. They've had, 13 over the last 2 games?
Yes.
So.
And what do we ask of really good teams when they play bad teams?
Beat them up.
Right.
Beat them up. No,
So
you're right.
So to me, it's. I think in today, so often we go to say, not going to compliment them for that because they suck. Not going to compliment them for that. No, let's compliment them because
I'll give them compliment, but that means they had 6 through 4 games, which
That
is
is
not
fine.
like that's not good.
no, it's not. It's not, and it is But that could also be put to you're learning the new defensive coordinator.
And that could be the case. And look, Cooper DeJean got a sack in his first start,
did.
right? So
Absolutely.
We'll see. Hopefully it continues to grow. I'm still going to, before I start saying I was wrong about the pass rush, I need to see a little bit more.
Wait, no.
I'll be a coward.
Okay,
I need to
I'm
see
going to tell you.
more.
I'm going to tell you flat out, you're being a coward.
I'll be a coward.
You're being a coward.
I'm not afraid.
Now is that your number one? The first question you asked?
For me, obviously, yeah. For me, it's obvious that we did not
Your
think
biggest miss.
the defense. Yes. What is John Kincaid's biggest miss that we were discussing or not discussing before the season started?
I'm surprised you didn't get this one because literally the only thing I didn't do was put on lipstick.
Yeah, Kellen Moore.
Yes. I believed, but there's a caveat.
Well, exactly. You have a caveat too, and
No,
I already
but
know
it's
what your caveat is, and I agree with it, John.
No, but I'm going to say is that it's my ignorance to think that Nick Sirianni wouldn't mess with
I got it.
in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's my ignorance because I've been here watching him for 3 years, and now it's the 4th year. I think I would know better, that he just can't help himself. But this hasn't been Kellen Moore's offense. But I didn't think I would even if someone told me Nick Sirianni's going to interfere, I would have told you nothing could hold this group back. Now, A.J. Brown missed 3 games.
Yes.
Okay, that's a huge potential part of what went on.
Lane Johnson basically 2.
But this team should be talented enough to look far better than they have. And that's me. That is one that I think I'm putting that in the loss column. I think I've gotten that completely wrong. By the end of the year, I may prove out to wow, everything I said about Kellen Moore and everything. What I didn't assume was this was going to be a collaboration. I was arrogant enough to think, oh, no, the head coach is just going to sit back and
But then I
not
could say
interfere.
this. I could say this, John. As I'm still waiting to see if this pass rush is actually good or not, I'm not going to completely celebrate the last two games.
Okay.
The last two games, you got more of Kellen Moore's offense.
You have. You absolutely have. Last week it was clear. Every time I was seeing the variation within a drive of Jalen Hurts under center, Jalen Hurts shotgun, Jalen Hurts shotgun. Oh, under center again. Then he's up. And the benefit to Saquon Barkley, honestly, if a guy driving in today is coaching Friday night football at a local high school, they understand the benefit to Saquon Barkley of Jalen Hurts being under center in regards to Jalen Hurts and them running out of the shotgun.
You would think the Mount Union coaching staff would know that.
Well,
And then they would tell that to Nick. Coach Dan would probably tell Nick that too.
Coach Dan would absolutely know that back in 9-year-old Little League. But I imagine that his brother back in the game against Hickory Creek.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That Hickory Creek game.
That's the one. The legends were made in that game.
Exactly. So I mean, it's what I'm saying is I don't think, and I think collectively as an Eagles fan base and as Eagles media and as talk show hosts, because I don't consider ourselves Eagles media.
Mm-hmm.
I consider ourselves Eagles commentators.
Yeah.
We all had it wrong, and if our listeners, everybody right now, reach to their right, whether it's in the cup holder or at home, you got a little drink, and you took a big chug of Truth Serum, or I guess they shoot that into your veins. You take the Truth Serum, every one of us would admit we have no idea how the Eagles got here to 4-2.
Tom Alvord, what's the biggest miss you had leading up to this Eagles season?
Yeah, I mean, John kind of alluded to it, but for me, it's more general. I was expecting a lot more from this offense, and I understand that there's been injuries, there's been inconsistencies, there's been newness, and I know a lot of people can be blamed here. Could be a little bit of Sirianni, could be a lot of bit of Hurts, could be a lot of bit of Kellen Moore. To me, I was expecting so much more from this offense, especially 6 weeks, 7 weeks into the season. I know the run game obviously looked fantastic this past week against the Giants, but I guess more so the passing offense for this team. That's something that I thought a month and a half in this season was really going to just surprise and just wow a lot of us here in Philadelphia, and we haven't quite seen it yet. Maybe we see it this week. A little bit disappointed, maybe a little bit of a miss on how excited I was about this offense, especially in the past game.
All right, so then our follow-up questions to all this, and you can text in or call in at 610-632-0975.
Take the Truth Serum before you text.
Yeah, don't be...
Seriously, everybody own it today.
Lie.
Own it today.
Oh, I've got nothing wrong.
Yeah, eat it a little bit.
There's somebody out there that says I've been spot on with all my analysis.
Well, wait a minute, who's that guy that called us a couple weeks ago? I can't remember.
Oh.
That I went off on.
Oh.
I told you before the season that this was going to happen.
I've been talking
you're
to him
full
for
of
years,
it.
too.
I'm like, you're full of it.
That's
Yeah.
shame on me
we have
for
a few
forgetting.
of those. Yeah, we have a few of those out there.
So the follow-up question to what is the biggest miss we had leading up to the season, the follow-up is, so what is real that we've seen through 6 weeks? Like, what is real about this Eagles football team, or what do you think will change about this Eagles football team? We kind of touched on this yesterday. I think this secondary is real. The way that they have played exceptionally, except for that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game where the offense did them no favors by going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and the pass rush was doing absolutely nothing in that game, which is hard for a defense, for a secondary to try to always stay locked into the receivers that they're covering. But I believe, because the pass rush was horrible the first 4 weeks of the season, the last 2 weeks they've been great. But the first 4 weeks, I mentioned those points that they barely allowed. Their worst game probably was the Packers game and the Buccaneers game. The fact that the secondary was able to do their jobs as well as they did without a pass rush, without the offense giving them much help in terms of long drives, which kept them off the field to allow them to catch their breath, I think Quinyon Mitchell is absolutely real. You know how I feel about Darius Slay compared to a lot of people in this city.
Hope Joe Banner's not listening.
I give Reed Blankenship a lot of credit, which is big for me to do. I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson needs to get his act together. And
how about he's been the worst?
I think he has been. And
He's been the worst member of the secondary.
I expect him to get better, right?
So do I. And by the way, another huge miss on our parts. We all thought he was arguably going to be the best part of the secondary.
Right.
He's been the worst.
He has been the worst.
And you're 4-2. That's promising to me.
So I think the secondary is real. So that would be my answer. What is real about this Eagles team? I believe this secondary is real. John Kincade.
I think the secondary is real, but I'm going to just say more is that I believe the offensive line is real.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing is they've done so much plug and play. And again, I'm not trying to spike the football, but if we had 50 people, 100 people up and down about Jason Kelce and the loss of Jason Kelce and how are they going to do it, they've been totally fine with the loss of Jason Kelce. In fact, I got a good number from Pro Football Focus for you because Nerd Boy was at work. Do you know they're pretty much exactly where they were last year as far as rankings, center play? They haven't missed one beat. And that's not to put down Jason Kelce, who's freaking unbelievable and so many intangibles. But they haven't missed at all, which means they've evaluated well on the offensive line. They've had injuries with Lane, with Jordan Mailata, and more, and they've just plugged
Now
and
we
played.
can say this.
And Becton.
Jason Kelce, big part of Cam Jurgens.
Oh, no question. No.
Handpicked him,
That's why I say
worked with him.
That's why I say. But we heard people all year long going, wow.
Oh, it's going to be a major miss.
What about the loss of Jason Kelce? In fact, 6 games in, they're actually slightly getting better production this year than they got last year.
Tom, what is real about this Eagles team that we've seen through 6 weeks? Again, it could be real as in good. It could be real as in bad. Like, you could say this passing offense isn't all that great, and they should start running the football more.
Yeah, my initial thought was the secondary, and maybe we like to get on Howie Roseman for a lot of things, and drafting is one of them. I feel like he hit 2 home runs with those first 2 picks. Now, it's very early on, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, but those guys look legit, even though DeJean's only started a couple games here. But I'll go with this. We complain a lot about the linebacker play in this city, and rightfully so. I'm not saying these are all pros. I'm not saying this is a top 5 unit. I think you have competency at linebacker. I think Nakobe Dean can give you some. Do they have their flaws? Absolutely, especially in coverage. But Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean, I think, have done some really good things, and they are competent, which is something we haven't had in this city all that much.
Well, then I can say to that, Vic Fangio is real.
Sure.
Right? Because Nakobe Dean, we've talked about this this week.
He is what he is.
He is what he is. He can't cover.
But Tom's word is fantastic. He's more than competent.
Yeah.
He'd start. Nakobe Dean would start for at least half the teams in the NFL.
Right.
He can't. Let's put it this way. He could start for at least half the
And
teams.
those 2 guys last year, could they start for a lot of teams around the NFL? They're not in the league anymore.
They're not, exactly. I don't know where Nicholas Moreau is these days. But I know that Nakobe Dean or Vic Fangio found out a way to deploy Nakobe Dean. There's going to be games like this weekend where you can't send him a million times, right? He's going to have to drop back into coverage. And he did that last week and the week prior as well. But we saw Nakobe Dean play his best game as an Eagle with 2 sacks because they let him pin his ears back and just go after the quarterback. Vic Fangio has found a way to utilize him. Vic Fangio, to your point, Tom, about Cooper DeJean, he was very patient. He let Avonte Maddox start for 4 weeks because Cooper DeJean was hurt during training camp, and he said, look, I'm not going to rush this guy into the starting lineup. He took his time. Once they realized, all right, enough is enough with Avonte Maddox, we believe Cooper DeJean is ready. That guy has not been a problem through 2 weeks. Through 2 weeks, all I can do is celebrate the second-round pick for the Eagles.
It's been incredible. And I think of 2 other times where the Eagles loaded up on the secondary in the draft. Now, you guys were more kids, and it worked out.
Yeah.
And it really worked out, loading up on it. They took the same strategy again, and it really appears it changes everything. And we did talk in the summertime, and this is one where we put in the win column. We talked in the summertime about, if the pass rush isn't going to be that great, then the secondary better really be able to stand up.
Right.
And then when we see the secondary standing up, it then benefits a pass rush.
Right, because it gives more time for the pass rush to get home.
We didn't see it happening, but wow, it's happening.
It is
I'm
happening.
telling you, I've never been in. I'll tell you this. I've done this a long, long time. This job a long time. And I have never in my life thought 6 games into a year, I don't know what my team is. And all the things I thought about my team in the summertime, I pretty much was wrong about.
Now, there's some things we were right about.
No.
Saquon
Right.
Barkley's good.
Saquon. Yeah, but wait,
Like, we were right.
I'll take it.
but I can't put that as much in the check column because everybody knew Saquon Barkley was a good player.
Except for Nick Sirianni.
But I was one of those people, too, that when my wife was saying to me as I'm getting out of the pool in Punta Cana going, do you know a guy named Saquon Barkley? And she tells me the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley. I'm saying to myself, wow,
I wouldn't have done that.
I wouldn't have spent
I
that
was
money
with
on a
Tom.
running back.
I was with Tom that
we
day.
were.
And I'm going, okay, I wouldn't have spent that kind of money on a running back. And today, I feel like a dope about that because of what I've seen him
No,
be.
you shouldn't feel like a dope because Tom and I basically had the same point. Man, that's kind of a scary thing to do. But man, would that be fun?
No,
We kept talking ourselves into it.
We're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat on that. But it just goes to show you, though, I think this is the most confounding Eagles team as we head into the last game of October that I've ever followed.
So
honestly.
what is the biggest miss that you had? Not just us. No, don't just call in and text and go, I heard Andrew and John saying this. No, we were all off, even you. So what was the biggest miss that you had leading up to this Eagles season? And what is real about this football team that we have seen now through 6 weeks? Real could be good. Real could be bad. We'd love to hear from you today. You can text in. You can call in 610-632-0975. We'll dive deeper into this Eagles-Bengals game as the show goes on. Don't forget, it's a Football Friday, which means Andrew DeCecco joins us in studio for the entire 8 o'clock hour. That guy can break down the entire game for us. So a lot of Eagles talk. It's an Eagles day. It's a Football Friday. But I will say this. Coming up next, we got some more Sixers news that we do have to talk about. And Mike Missanelli caught something yesterday, John, that we missed.
Not a cold, I hope.
No, we missed it.
We did.
You're going to hear 2 Nick Nurse clips. One from Wednesday, or when was the first game? Wednesday night?
Uh-huh.
All right, one from Tuesday and one from Wednesday.
So this was MG Missanelli. He put his old reporter's cap on. Now, look, Tom doesn't even remember MG Missanelli.
Tuesday, Nick Nurse. Google him. Tuesday, Nick Nurse. Wednesday, Nick Nurse. Mike caught something. We'll play those for you next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic on a Football Friday, and we have plenty of Eagles discussion to get to today. Our main topics as we get you set for Eagles Bengals on Sunday. What was the biggest miss that we had leading up to this Eagles season that we have seen play out so far through 6 weeks? And what is real about this Eagles team, either good or bad, that we have seen through 6 weeks that you believe will continue as this season goes on? We'll get answers from you on the text line, the phone line, coming up as the show continues at 610-632-0975. But a couple of things that I want to get to Sixers related with you. First things first, Shams Charania reported yesterday that Paul George is continuing to progress. He's ramping up, John.
Don't even get me started with this.
No, he's not. It's a different R word. It's recovering. He's continued to recover from a left knee bone bruise. He will not play during the 2-game road trip. The team will provide update on his availability early next week.
Oh, please get us the updates. We're holding our breath on these.
My read on it, you and I talked about before the show. My read on it is, hey, they're just going to have him and Embiid come back together Wednesday night.
Let's punt on the first 3 games of the season.
You're not believing in Tyrese?
Who gives a damn? Let's lose 3 games in the regular season.
We don't know that they're going to lose.
No, we don't. Is it a hell of a lot more likely?
That's likely.
Yeah. And again, what I will tell you.
They could beat the Raptors.
This strategy of the Sixers, I wrote it in Sharpie the other day, and I'll say it again. They're not going to be a top 4 seed with this strategy. And then you're going to tell me that they're going to turn it on, that miraculous switch. They're going to turn it on and go on a run in the playoffs to somewhere they haven't been in 24 years. Damn, I'm telling you, some of you people
now, I will say this.
Absolutely gullible.
I will say this. I think it is crazy. And you did say yourself yesterday that you will either be very right or very wrong.
Very right or very wrong. Absolutely.
There's only 2.
No, it's good. No, but it will be the very will be the
right
thing. Because right now I'm hearing things like, oh, it doesn't matter to them.
Well, I think it's crazy to say that this strategy, which we know as of right now is 3 games in the back-to-backs, there's no way they're a top 4 seed. I do believe it's crazy for you to say that already.
Well, the fact that they are, well, no, it's what I think of the
plan.
And it's also what I think of last year. I mean, I saw it last year.
But we're going to see Tyrese and Embiid in one game of the back-to-back. We'll see Tyrese and Paul George in the other game of the back-to-back.
That's if everything goes right.
Yeah, if everything goes right.
And the East, which I don't expect it to go right. I expect Embiid to have another injury at some point.
Well, then it wouldn't matter. Then the plan doesn't matter. If he's going to get hurt, he gets hurt.
No, but it does, because you're taking additional days in addition to you're taking healthy days off. That's what you're doing.
Well,
if
he's hurt and misses 3 weeks, he misses 3 weeks.
Yeah, but you're taking healthy days off in addition to the injury days.
Okay.
And it's going to be, I'm telling you right now, and I think the East is better than last year.
It is good.
I think Orlando's better than last year. I think Indiana can be better than last year. I think Cleveland is solid. I think Cleveland is a solid top 4 team. I think Milwaukee is.
That Celtics team stinks, though.
I think the Knicks and Celtics. Right, Knicks, Celtics, Milwaukee, and Cleveland right there, I think are 4 teams that you could argue could be better than the Sixers if the Sixers played every game.
No.
Okay.
If they're healthy,
Well, that's what the thing is that's the team you built.
I know.
You built with old.
I'm saying
you built with old, you beat with beat up.
If everything went the way we wanted it to, which was they were healthy and they played 70 games, they're a top 4 seed. And that's a lot. That's a lot for me to say.
But anybody who would build the team and think that they're going to win 70s, play 70 games is crazy.
I agree with you there, and that's why I was not thrilled with the addition of Paul George, because I'm relying on an oft-injured player to be my security blanket for another oft-injured player.
Now, you guys grew up with Mike Missanelli, the legend of Sports Talk Radio.
Yes.
You never read M.G. Missanelli, who was Mike's. That's how Mike wrote.
Correct.
As a writer.
Now, I knew of MG because there were callers that would call him MG, so I still knew the lore of MG.
Well, there was lore of MG is that Mike Missanelli knows how to navigate a press conference.
Yep.
Knows how to navigate a line of questioning. MG is even better at it.
And he also
I think
catches
MG is
things.
the secret. Yes.
So here's Nick Nurse from Tuesday. Remember, we knew that Joel Embiid on Tuesday was not going to be playing in the opener on Wednesday night, of course, was going to be missing at least the first 3 games. Here was Nick Nurse Tuesday talking about Joel Embiid.
No, there's been no setbacks. No, we've, again, he's really active. He's lost some weight. He's out on the court, etc. Just kind of sticking with our plan of making sure we're getting him in a really, really good place before we get him playing live.
All right. And then.
No more setbacks. He's losing weight.
Yep. No, lost weight.
Yeah.
Here
Lost
he
weight.
was Wednesday, the day of the game, when he had his pregame media availability.
He did not re-injure himself, but the plan is we don't feel like he's quite ready, strong enough, light enough, whatever it is that they've determined that he's not quite ready to go, hasn't been in any full court scrimmages, etc. And that's the plan.
So Tuesday, he's lost weight. Wednesday, he needs to lose weight.
He's not light enough now. The thing is, too, is that, can I ask you again? This summer, what was, and I asked it yesterday to Keith Pompey, what the hell was Joel Embiid doing?
Resting.
So after the Olympics, instead of preparing for his full-time job, he was resting and obviously put on weight that he has to take off. How the hell do you do that? How do you do that? It's your full-time job. Playing the Olympics was this nice little side thing that you so wanted to do. It was your third country of choice, but it was what you so had to do. And then after the Olympics, what'd you do? Sit on the couch and watch Saved by the Bell and stuff your face? Like what? Why are we dealing with your star player who you just gave another $190 million to?
Yes.
Guaranteed. Having to be on a weight program. This isn't a damn Ozempic commercial. He's not dancing on his front lawn. I got type 2 diabetes and I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. You paid this man an extra $190 million that you didn't have to commit to this year. Didn't have to. You had 2 years left. And now you're having to put him on a weight program, make sure he's like, hey, we got to make sure you're showing up in shape and you're doing what we're asking you to do. It's freaking ridiculous.
But
Good job, MG.
Good job, MG, because he says in one clip he's lost weight. There's no setbacks.
It's ridiculous.
And then the next day he's still losing weight. And so what is it? And that's why everybody is upset with the handling of this situation. And the biggest reason is because we don't know the truth. And that's what sucks. Like, we do not know the truth of what's going on with Joel Embiid.
We do know the truth. He's too heavy. Because they're going on the record with that.
But he did it the first time.
He's too damn heavy.
He's talking out of both sides of his mouth, John.
But he went and put on weight after the Olympics. He's sitting in Cheesecake Factory when he should have been on a treadmill. I mean, seriously.
Let's not go over the top. I'm sure he exercised.
Really? Yeah. You're sure he did?
I don't think
he can't even hit the floor.
I don't think he sat on his ass for 2 months.
He can't even hit the floor. And I saw Mike do it the other day. Okay, let's put him on a scale then.
I heard him say that, yeah.
Put him on a scale publicly. We're hearing all this weight thing. Put him on the scale. He's lost 30 pounds? I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. I looked at the practice footage the other day from when he's shooting around. Now, he doesn't look, it's not Fat Albert.
No, he's not fat, right.
He's not James Harden in a fat suit trying to get traded. But he doesn't look like he's lost 30 pounds either.
No, we all know how he looks, especially after an injury. He looks a little bit slower on
puffy.
The court. He needs to get into the game shape. And look, he eventually does, to his credit. He eventually does.
I love it. To his credit.
Well, when you're dealing with injury after injury after injury after
injury. You don't have to put on weight when you're injured. You do not have to put on weight.
If you're not doing cardio when your knees...
Fork goes to mouth. Fingers go to mouth. You do not have to... And NBA superstars. And then I heard people yesterday on the Mike Missanelli show doing the, he played in the Olympics. So that was a really grueling summer, so now he's got to ramp up.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way.
What about all the Olympians? What about all the other Olympians? They're all playing. Yeah. So would you stop the excuse making for Joel Embiid is over the top. Over the top. And this whole thing is aggravating as hell, as if you can't tell.
Yeah, I can tell you're a little upset.
It's so
and that's okay. And everybody has...
Because I was fired up for the season.
Yeah, and then you get the kick in the nuts when the report comes out that he's not going to be playing to start the season. And hopefully Wednesday night against the Pistons, against Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and Paul George are both ready to go. All right, it is a Football Friday. We're talking Eagles today, but that was something that needed to be said, needed to be done. Paul George out another 2 games at least. Hopefully that's all it is. But coming up next, we get to your text messages and your calls at 610-632-0975. What was the biggest miss we had leading up to this Eagles season? And what is real about this Eagles team? Both good or bad? We're going to play some interesting audio for you coming up at 7:10 today. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni.
We really take pride in our
Kincade and Salciunas on this Friday morning. If you're having a rough start because you just didn't sleep well, which was me, could be worse, Johnny.
It could be worse. My buddy Mark's in the car right now. He's driving to Rothman down at the Navy Yard. A little prayer this morning as I did my morning offering saying that Dr. Cohn will be sharp today and on his game.
Are we talking about the knife? Or are we
Yeah, he's having his surgery down at Rothman today at the Navy Yard. Mark has to have his hamstring reattached to his hip.
Think about that.
Tore away from his hip.
No, thanks.
Yeah.
So
I'm
he
good.
is. So we're hoping for a great outcome today.
Not that Tom is ever in a bad mood. Tom's one of the kinder people
Tom
that we
is
know.
kind.
But Tom, I imagine when your alarm went off this morning, you're like, screw this, because you're not used to these hours. Could be worse. You could have also gotten up as early as you did, but to have your hamstring reattached to your body.
Yeah, screw wasn't really the word I was thinking when my alarm went off at 4:15 this morning. But yes, it could always be worse.
Now, I
You're
will
correct.
tell you that it was the night before he was officiating a wedding
Ooh.
for his niece, and he slipped on where somebody had spilled beer at a bowling alley, and
I've
he
been there.
slipped on the beer, and his hamstring tore. He did
Oh,
a
my-
split, and his hamstring tore away from his hip.
See, that's frustrating because it wasn't even his fault. That was just a fluky injury. It's not like
Yeah.
he
I
was
would
playing
say-
like men's pickup league or anything.
No, I would say he is a little bit of a dope, but I mean let's not underestimate.
Do you remember Deshaun Jackson's injury, his 17th stint with the Eagles? Because
Yeah.
he came back 90 times.
What was the?
His groin tore completely off the bone. Completely off the bone, his groin tore.
I don't think I could walk.
Great start to the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. So
happy Football Friday.
Be on it, folks at Rothman. Take care of Mr. McLaughlin today.
All right,
please.
Tommy, what do we have on the text line this morning? You can climb in at 610-632-0975. Last segment, we talked a little bit about the Sixers. Obviously, Sixers are always on the table. But our main topics today about the Eagles, what was the biggest miss that you had leading up to this Eagles season, either positively or negatively, right? You thought something would be better than it has been. You thought something would be worse than it has been. And what has been real through the 6 weeks, either good or bad, when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. Because as John said to me yesterday off the air, and he said it earlier on the show today on the air, this game we have no real read on. And it's because both teams, they're very similar if you think about it. The Bengals started off slow. You told me that you did Cincinnati radio.
I did Cincinnati radio yesterday. Made them feel terrible.
And they're miserable out there.
They're miserable except for Joe Burrow. Joe Shiesty is there.
Yeah, they're happy.
Is literally like a folk hero.
Yeah.
They all love him. As the host told me, the men want to be him,
Yeah.
and the women want to be with him. I mean, he's that. But they hate watch their team right now.
Right.
That's how it was described to me.
So Burrow gets no criticism then. If they talk about him as highly as that is,
They
he
love
just
him.
love him. They
Interesting.
think well.
By the way,
what
he's
is
having
what
a
is
great
like?
season.
Oh,
What's
he
he
is,
like?
yeah.
14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, or something like that.
70% completion
I mean,
percentage.
he's doing his job, but
There's a lot of Eagles fans that try to diminish how good he is.
they're hate watching their team right now. And that is how it was described to me. And I was shocked that they were that station tends to believe that the Eagles are coming in there and getting a tight victory.
I would like that. What do
I
we have
would
on
totally
what,
love it.
What do we have on the text line,
All
Tommy?
right, text line, we have no name, unfortunately, even though they text all the time. I don't understand that. Biggest miss, I thought Nicky's sideline would actually give up offensive play calling and scheming. What I got right, I thought Fangio would get this defense in the top half of the league.
The Sirianni thing, I think we all were wrong on, even those who wanted him back and those who didn't want him back. I didn't want him back, but I didn't think he was going to manipulate.
I never thought it. The thing is, though, I was stupid enough to think that an NFL head coach was going to be
We both were.
was going to be totally
We both were.
was going to be totally neutered and have nothing to say about things. We were very naive about it.
Yeah. Now, the last 2 weeks, we have seen more of the Kellen Moore show, we believe.
We have. Oh, no, we have.
And that excites me. And maybe Nick Sirianni once again got neutered, or he neutered himself. I don't know. Maybe he has that capability to snip himself. I don't know.
Ow.
Well, he does. All it takes is the mental aptitude to say, Kellen Moore's had a top 5 offense whenever he has his starting quarterback. Leave him the hell alone.
Which I will say, he's done it before.
He's done it before, and he can.
With Shane Steichen
Hopefully
2 years
he can
ago,
do
3
it
years
again.
ago.
Hopefully he can do it again.
All right, what else do we got?
We got Mike in Turnersville who says, need to have a fast start on Sunday offensively to allow Eagles to dictate the tempo and control the game, especially if they're able to run the ball.
Yeah, I feel comfortable. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there more?
A little bit.
bad.
A slow start can make a game a shootout and create more opportunities to turn the ball over.
I feel comfortable saying if they don't score in the first quarter of this game, they lose. I feel comfortable saying it.
I think
that's
that's a fair assessment. I would say if both teams are in the 30s, I think they're going to lose.
Okay.
I think if this game ends up to be a high-scoring shootout, they're going to lose.
I just you can't continue to sneak by not scoring points in the first quarter.
Nope.
You can't. You're 4-2, which is amazing in its own right.
Yeah, we're
the
happy
fact
with
that
that.
you're 4-2 when you haven't scored a point in the first quarter. But again, we played the clip. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago from Get Up. Dan Orlovsky talked about how they're the least prepared team to start games offensively. And I believe it was McCourty and Harry Douglas that also chimed in talking about the scripted 15 plays. The scripted 15 plays is not like a sports radio guy. We say that, and it's not actually true. No, they actually... That's a real thing. The 15 plays, the walkthrough in the hotel lobby or the hotel conference hall the night before or at NovaCare, those things are real. And the fact that they are 0 for 6 in the first quarter, 0 for 6 on the first 15 plays, however you want to term it, that's horrible. And they're the only team in the NFL through 6, only team in the league this year that has not scored a point in the first quarter. You're fine against the Browns, against the Giants, early on against the Packers when they were figuring out their own offensive stuff because they only scored 6 points, 2 field goals after 2 turnovers that put them in great field position in week 1. Once teams start figuring out their offenses more, once you play better quarterbacks and weapons like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, you saw it against Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Cade Otton and Bucky Irving and Rashad White. They were up 14-0 in the blink of an eye. And they're not Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. If they don't score a point in the first quarter this week, I can very comfortably say they're going to lose.
Okay, we'll write that one down, and we'll keep that one for the
hold me
database.
to it.
I don't think that's a strange thing to say, though, at all. It's a shame.
You can't constantly be playing from behind.
No, this team can't. That's not the way you want to play Joe Burrow.
You know what? It's not the way you want to play Jalen Hurts.
No, exactly. Well, yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point.
Coming up at 7:10.
Yeah, that's
How about
a great
that as a
point.
tease there, Johnny?
Yeah, it is tease-worthy.
We will reset the show coming up next. We'll get to more of your text messages. Again, what did you miss? What was the biggest thing you missed the first going into the season? And what is real about this team through 6 weeks? Now it's 7:10. More and more people are giving not so great grades on Jalen Hurts. And this one, when you find out the person, is purely tape-based.
Oh, okay.
And no bias. Okay, this guy it's not an ESPN, let me have a take. This is purely tape-based. We'll play you that coming up at 7:10. It is Kincade and Salciunas on this Friday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles head to Cincy. I'm Tom Albert, and this update is brought to you by your local PJ Wellahans. Join the club if you haven't signed up yet. Why not?
7:02 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this Football Friday. Coming up at 7:10, so about 8 minutes from now, I'm going to play you audio from Greg Cosell, who is tape. All right, no bias, no.
Everybody has preferences, and I think Greg does have some preferences of what he prefers.
I'm sure.
But he breaks it down. He shows you what his opinion is.
Yes.
There's a
with
difference.
Tape.
Right. There's
And
a difference.
So he was on the Ross Tucker podcast earlier this week.
Which I love, by the way.
Ross is tremendous. And he didn't say some great things about Jalen Hurts. And so we will play that for you coming up at 7:10. And again, it's interesting that people have pointed this out. Football, like real football people have pointed out the last 2 weeks that despite Jalen Hurts' numbers looking much better and the offense being much more efficient, I'll let Greg Cosell do the talking, but it may not be as great as what we may believe it's been the last couple of weeks.
Did the Jalen bots come out and enforce to attack him and
Yes,
say
they
that
did.
say that he's terrible and
Yes, they
stupid and
did.
doesn't know what he's doing?
Yes.
And say that he's just as good as Mahomes? Okay.
Yes.
I figured. That seems to be the game.
No, better than Mahomes because Mahomes has thrown more interceptions.
Oh, okay. That seems to be the game right now, yeah.
But let's reset the show a little bit. What was the biggest miss we had leading up to this Eagles season? Mine easily was defense. I did say that they would be better than last year, and I thought that there would be upside because last year they just sucked.
Yeah, they were terrible.
This year they were young. But did I think through 6 weeks they'd be a top 10 defense? No, I would be lying to your face or to your ears if you're not watching on YouTube if I said, oh, I knew they'd be this good.
Nah, none of us did. And most of us were worried that, look, the overwhelming opinion from this radio station and from most of the fan base was that they were going to have to outscore teams to cover up for this young defense while they came into
We were
their own.
told that we were too excited
Yep.
by Eagles fans, which is amazing because now that the season has played out and we have to react in real time and we can't just always be green-colored glasses, we're once again haters.
Right, absolutely.
But leading up to the season, John,
We were too positive.
we were too positive, and the reason why the Eagles would be held back this year was because of the defense. So if anybody out there says, I knew the defense would be this good, you're lying. Don't do that.
Even us who were considered to have rose-colored glasses.
Yes.
And we all predicted them for, I said 12th. I think you and
I
Connor
said around
like
15.
14,
That's
14,
what I wanted.
15.
That's what I wanted, just 15, man.
I just went with the number of what I've seen, over his history, what Vic Fangio tends to do. So I just took that number and ran with it.
Yep. All right, and what was yours? The biggest miss we had leading up to the season, I remember what it was. I just want you to tell the people about Kellen Moore.
It was the fact that I believed that Kellen Moore's offense was going to be unstoppable. I thought this team would average 27 points a game. Now, look, they could still get up there. There's a lot of season to be played. But I thought they'd be a 27-point-a-game offense. I thought that was the floor. Right now, the floor is around 21. So we'll see how
now,
it goes.
Again, we are all still kind of right. To me, the pass rush, I know they've been tremendous the last 2 weeks. We'll see if they continue to play well. The first 4 weeks, they were non-existent.
They were.
To your defense, you have a head coach that refused to allow Kellen Moore to actually run the show the way that it should be ran.
And if you look at if you study it of what Kellen Moore's offense looked like, his 5 seasons calling plays in the NFL, the Eagles' offense through the majority of 4 weeks, some of the 5th and pretty much not the 6th, didn't look like Kellen Moore.
Right. Now we're starting to see it a little bit.
That's what I like to see.
All right, and then what is real about this Eagles team? We have seen 6 games now, and I do believe that the secondary is real because the first 4 weeks when there was no pass rush, they held their own. I thought they played very well, and you've now seen them even better the last 2 weeks now that you have better players on the field because I think we can all agree, with all due respect to Avonte Maddox, Cooper DeJean is a better player.
No question.
And I think that secondary will continue to get better once Chauncey Gardner-Johnson starts playing to close to the level of expectations.
I thought of the offensive line, and we talked a lot in the offseason about Jason Kelsey's going to be gone. How are you going to handle that loss? They're actually scoring out better 6 weeks into the season at the center position. And that's not a knock at Jason Kelsey, who was amazing. It's just that there has not been any slippage at all.
Right. Absolutely not. All right, you can text in. You can call in 610-632-0975. The quote from Tom Alvord, a lot of birds text. So what do we got, Tommy?
Yes, that is correct. Good job. All right, so we have a bunch coming in on the Eagles. Let's go to Harry from Whitehall. I think Jalen Hurts needs to just trust his football instincts. Too many open looks to receivers that he's not taking. He just has to get out of his own head and play the way he knows he can. He also needs to start running the damn ball or throw it away. He holds onto the ball too long and takes way too many sacks that are unnecessary.
I only have one issue with what he said, with Harry's thing. Play the way he knows he can. He's not playing like a guy who trusts that he knows what he is. So I think he's lost confidence. And hopefully that comes back.
And I
do believe Jalen's a winner. And I do believe Jalen is a hard worker. So I hope that the mental hurdle can be overcome because I do believe it's a mental hurdle.
And I do believe coaching can help or hurt you.
Sure, absolutely can.
You know what doesn't help your confidence? 0 of 5 starts throwing the football.
Yeah.
Those 0 of 5 were deep shots. Tell me the easy, let's get him going throw.
Well,
there is none.
How many completions does he have this year, like little easy throws in the flat? Not like hardly at all.
Hardly at all, but more than last year because remember last year he refused to ever check down. That play to Saquon Barkley, his first completion or second completion of the game against the Giants, the 3rd and 12 where Barkley lays a lick into whoever it was that tried tackling him. That was just a check down that got 8 yards. That almost could have been a first down. Like, he's got to realize that he can do that.
Here's what I don't understand in Nick Saban's offense, even when he went to Oklahoma. He was a guy who threw into the intermediate throws, the quick, easy throws. That was the offense because they had athletes who they thought that would miss.
Right.
Their athletes were going to be superior. Just get the ball in their hands quickly.
And don't you have those guys here?
You do.
Yeah.
You do. So they got to get more in that in the offense.
Yep, absolutely. You can text it. You can call in 610-632-0975. Now, speaking of Jalen Hurts. So, again, I know the defense that Hurts gets in the city by a lot of Eagles fans.
And again, if Ron Jaworski and Donovan McNabb are driving around in this town in a car, they're going, what the hell happened to Philadelphia? We got crushed. Even when we played well, we got crushed.
You know, it's funny.
And he gets defended at every turn. There's no critique of Jalen Hurts is acceptable to the Jalen Hurts bots.
And
they just can't. They cannot live with it.
John, we got a tweet a minute ago.
Oh no,
from Scotty Talks.
Hey Scotty.
hating on Jalen Hurts and Joel
here we
Embiid this morning. Surprise, surprise.
Here we go.
And
Well, Jalen, whoa. Guilty on hating. First of all, I'm not a teenage girl, so I don't use hating. If there's any non-viable critique that I had of Joel Embiid, bring it on. If anything I said was false, if anything I said was not true, then bring it on.
I mean, my response, and Scotty,
hating, come on now.
Scotty has a podcast, so Scotty clearly talks. So,
okay, good.
So you can text in or you can call. I would like to actually call and talk.
Sure.
And not just hide behind a keyboard. Hating on Jalen Hurts and Joel Embiid this morning. Okay, so let's talk about both real quick. Jalen Hurts, he had a good season. I know the Eagles are 4-2.
I guess Scotty's telling us that he did.
He had a good season.
I guess Scotty's telling us that we're missing something that, by the way, every analyst from every network is telling us that we're of the same mindset.
I don't believe Jalen Hurts has had a great season. I don't think he's had a bad season. I do find it interesting that his best 2 weeks have been the last 2 weeks where they have started having him do less, which I've been asking for.
Correct.
This isn't something I just drew up because I saw it. John is my witness. I've been asking for it since like week 2 to simplify the offense because I don't like the explosive plays and the obsession of it. And since they have simplified the offense a little bit, I'm not saying dumb it down because Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback.
He doesn't need to have it
I'm
dumbed
saying
down.
Simplified, shorter routes, handing off the football, run first offense. He has played his 2 best games. Hating on Joel Embiid. JoJo's my man. I love Joel Embiid.
JoJo's your guy, and we butt heads more on Joel Embiid than anything else we ever talk about.
But how can you be happy with the big man right now?
Like, I mean, seriously, and if you're defending the fact that, he was in the Olympics, well, bullcrap, because every other Olympian is playing. So stop that stupid excuse. And then when they're telling you, the head coach is telling you, he has to lose weight to play. Why are you putting weight on? Because you didn't prepare yourself for the season. If that's what they're spinning out there as an excuse,
yeah,
I'm telling you flat out.
Then why do you allow it? And it goes back to something I've been saying.
And why
a
are we
lot.
dealing with this for a 30-year-old man,
right,
who just signed a $190 million extension? Why are we dealing with the fact that they have to put extra controls on his weight?
Mm-hmm.
Fork goes to mouth, fingers go to mouth. Stop it! You're not putting on weight. Just he had to sit around. And if someone tries to then spin to me, he had to sit around because he was banged up. Oh, so after the Olympics, where he shouldn't have played, you mean? When he was banged up in the postseason? Come on now. Let's have realistic discussions on these athletes.
And it's not just...
Not be pom-pom shakers, for God's sakes.
And the thing that bothers me, I've said this a couple of times since this show has started in March. Because there's this perception that we hate the players and we hate this, we hate that. No, that's not true.
No.
I am somebody who's always striving for more. I'm very happy with my life. I love my life. I love my family. I love my son. I love my job. I love everything about my life. I would like to still have more.
Yes.
I would like to make more money. I would like to have more vacation time where my vacation is to extravagant destinations and not just the Jersey Shore, which I love to death.
Yes.
Why, as a fan, you have not... I think you can impact games with your noise sometimes. But let's face it. We have nothing to do with how a player succeeds or struggles. We
don't.
Like Joe at Wawa has nothing to do with Jalen Hurts throwing an interception.
Despite mythological standing ovations.
If Jalen Hurts throws an interception, why make an excuse for it? Why not say, as a fan, I want more from my quarterback?
I know why.
Why not say I want more from my kicker? Why not say I want more from my bullpen arm, the 25th guy on the roster? You are a fan, and I get it. You want to support your team, but you also want your teams to be good. So why would you not ask demand more?
My daughter explained it to me from the mindset of a 20-year-old sports fan.
Okay.
And I think it's really smart. It's something that I would overlook. She says it's this. It's the phone. It's social media. Everybody goes tribal on social media. You pick who you align with, and then you let everybody in the world know every thought in your head.
Yes.
And so if you go into the camp of, I'm going to defend Jalen Hurts no matter what, then what you find yourself in is every week, I'm going to come up with ways to defend Jalen Hurts.
Now,
And I'm not going to admit that I was just look. It has been Jalen Hurts has been mediocre this year, mediocre at best. But you and I both believe. I believe Jalen has a higher ceiling. I believe than you do. Is that fair?
yes.
Like I believed. I was all summer. I thought that he's going to be closer to 22 Jalen Hurts than he is to 23 Jalen Hurts. I still believe that can happen, but you know what? It hasn't happened yet.
No.
So I'll give him my belief. I gave him my belief all off season. But I'm sure as hell going to call what I've seen realistically and not sit here and do a show. It's the Pom Pom podcast.
Now,
I'm not doing it.
I was very strategic to not read the entire tweet because I know how John is. John turns off. He turns his ears off.
What is it? Well, haters won. I mean, it's like I'm not a Swiftie.
Well, Scotty.
Even though I do like Taylor Swift.
Scotty continued by saying, "Wonder if Bryce Harper and Trey Turner could catch this much heat, considering they're the leaders of the most disappointing team in the city right now."
Really?
If you ever heard John talk about Trey Turner,
wait a minute now. Yeah, exactly. He's obviously not listened. It's Trey Turner. And I'm just going to say it right out there. Is he trying to make this a racial thing? Trey Turner and Bryce Harper? Is he trying to make it into something that it's just so stupid? Just call it like you see it. And by the way, what did I do all last offseason? You guys would get on me all the time. I was all over Bryce Harper.
yes, you were.
For the way the last two seasons ended in the postseason. By the way, now make it 3.
And oh, by the way,
Now make it 3.
If we're quick note, Bryce Harper should not deserve really any criticism for how the playoff series played out because he and Nick Castellanos and Zach Wheeler were the only three players that were good.
No, they were it.
And Christopher Sanchez.
Christopher Sanchez, absolutely.
Now, last thing, because I like to try to end things on a good note.
Let's do it.
Scotty told us he turned
but
off.
it's okay.
He turned off the station.
Oh, he did? Okay.
But he just responded to what we were saying. So he is still listening. So we appreciate it.
We appreciate that.
And he did say it's okay to demand more. But he said it's not okay to disrespect players personally. He did not like.
What do you mean disrespect?
He did not like the Embiid stuffing face watching Saved by the Bell comment.
Well, guess what? Then what? Give me a theory as to what happened. Whatever happened since the Olympics, you put on weight that your team won't even put you on the court because they think you're too heavy.
Well, my theory
So what is the theory?
Because of the injury, he could not be in game shape. But, and then that goes back to the why did you play in the Olympics?
And you don't go back to the Olympics. And also, too, again, give me the fork goes to mouth, hand goes to mouth. You don't have to get fat while you're injured. You don't have to. They were talking 30 pounds the other day. How much weight did he put on? How much weight did he put on from the Olympics that they're talking about him losing 30 pounds? He looked in. Let's put it this way. I know somebody who was in Vegas, an NBA Hall of Famer who was in Vegas while the Olympic team was first converging.
Mm-hmm.
And I was flat out told he doesn't look in shape. Joel doesn't look in shape. And part of that could have been dinged up from the regular season, from the postseason.
But then he should not have
played
in the Olympics.
Exactly. So stop with the excuses. By the way, Joel's freaking awesome.
Yes.
He's awesome.
He's
all
one of the best players in Sixers franchise history.
All things can be true.
All things can be true. All right. So, and again, demand more. Demand rant. No, sorry.
By the way, it was a good Screech episode, so maybe you enjoyed it.
So, now that we continued talking about it, here's Greg Cosell on the Ross Tucker podcast. And I'm curious because people like Scotty defend Jalen Hurts because he did say, wow, let's rip Jalen after 2 wins. Okay. They won 2 games, and I have said...
By the way, did we rip him after either win?
His most efficient games of the season. But people who study the film... Like, this is their job.
Yes.
This is what they do. Here's Greg Cosell, a legend in the NFL, talking about Jalen Hurts.
They're a difficult offense to watch right now. Jalen Hurts is not playing very good football. They're a running football team. Their defense has played a lot better the last couple of weeks. Now, people can say they beat the Giants and the Browns, and that's fair because those are 2 of the lesser offenses in the league. But if you just look at what they're doing and how individuals are playing, they're playing better on defense. But the Eagles can't sustain, if they want to be a true playoff team, they can't sustain the way they played last week. Your quarterback has to be a bigger factor. Jalen Hurts, for whatever reason, Ross, and he's played a lot of football games, and you do them in the preseason, so you're familiar with him. For whatever reason, he's just not seeing things clearly right now. Basic concepts he's not seeing, and that really handicaps and hamstrings your offense when your quarterback just can't execute basic concepts, and that's what he's struggling with right now.
Greg Cosell's not biased.
No, he
By the way,
studies film.
neither is Ross Tucker. Neither is Brian Baldinger. Neither is Dan Orlovsky. Neither is Kurt Warner, who you brought up on the show this week.
Mm-hmm.
The cavalcade of people who understand the NFL far better than any of us do.
Better than us. Like, before we start talking about listeners, us.
They're
you and
better than
I.
us.
Yeah.
Literally saying, this guy's not playing up to snuff. And he is holding them back. He's got to get better.
That doesn't mean he can't get
Doesn't mean
better.
that he can't. Doesn't mean that he won't.
And that's why I've said I want the offense that I've seen the last 2 weeks to continue, but the throw to Devontae Smith has to be made. The
How about
throw to
the
Saquon
Saquon
Barkley
wide
has to be
open?
made. Even though they ended up scoring touchdowns on both of those drives,
Right.
you can't always depend on the 4th and 3 conversion to work. All right? Get the 3rd and 3 when Devontae Smith is wide open. Go for the easier play than the shot downfield. And that's something that also needs to fall on the coaching staff, not just Jalen Hurts. So when you hear Greg Cosell talk about that, what's your reaction?
I guess everybody's against Jalen Hurts, and there's a grand conspiracy.
You can text and you can call on 610-632-0975. Get your reactions on that. But also coming up next, I read something interesting this morning, John, where ESPN ranked the teams from best to worst position for adding at the trade deadline.
Okay.
The Eagles are not in as great of a place as we always think they are. And I have a question off of that. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
PG and Embiid out again. I'm Tom Malvord, and this update is brought to you by...
on this Friday morning, a football Friday here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Our main topics today that we'd love to hear from you on the text line or the phone line, 610-632-0975. What was the biggest miss we had leading up to this season, either positively or negatively when it comes to the Eagles? And through 6 weeks, what has been real about this Eagles team, either good or bad? And then we just introduced our latest topic, Greg Cosell, who's on the Ross Tucker podcast. We like both Greg and Ross. They're both tremendous at what they do. Greg Cosell didn't speak highly of Jalen Hurts' play through 6 weeks. Now, that does not mean he thinks he stinks, and he will continue to stink. He thinks he can get better. But there are areas in this game, areas of his game, I should say, through the 6 weeks that he is not playing well at. And ultimately, Greg said it in the clip that we played last segment, you can win by running the football as much as you can against the Browns and the Giants, but there's going to be some games this Sunday where you're going to have to probably throw the football a little bit more. And if Jalen Hurts plays like he did the first 4 weeks, you're going to lose. And you should, as a fan, going back to our conversation in response to Scotty on Twitter, demand more. And if Jalen Hurts plays to your level of expectations, not mine, I think less of him than a lot of people do. If he plays to your level of expectations, the person listening right now that believes he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and he's not been one so far this year, if he is a top 5 quarterback in your mind, then demand him to play like one.
I don't understand the idea of just blindly defending. I guess it's just not how a fan I am. Is that I actually hold the stars that I've rooted for in my life or players that have been my favorite to a higher standard.
Yes, the best players should be held more accountable.
That's
in this city, it's weird. The underdog,
strange.
the role play, like T.J. McConnell could do no wrong. With all due respect, guys put together a great career.
Right.
T.J. McConnell could do no wrong. Joel Embiid sucks, right? Like that's how there are some people that act that way. Not everybody, but some people act that way. Jalen Hurts, and maybe it's a beautiful thing. Maybe it's a great thing, John. Jalen Hurts seems to be the first star that can do no wrong for a lot of people.
I've never seen anything like it. And honestly and I consider myself definitely in the camp of big believer, big fan. And I can't believe it. I never understand not wanting to discuss things logically.
You know who I'm a big believer in and a big fan of?
Who's that?
Andrew DeCecco.
Well, that's always
He's behind you. He's staring at you right now.
Oh, he is behind us?
He joins us for the entire 8 o'clock hour. Can't wait to talk to him to preview Eagles-Bengals. Now, I wanted to open this up. So I read an article this morning, John, on ESPN. I can read.
I helped you with the big words.
I can read. Thank you. ESPN did a breakdown of the salary cap space remaining and the draft picks for all 32 teams in the NFL leading up to the trade deadline. So if you think the Eagles need to add a big piece in this part of the field, can they do it? So it's interesting because we act like the Eagles are always in prime position to acquire a player at the deadline. Oh, Howie's not going to pay for this guy because he wants to have the optionality come trade deadline time. We say that every single year. ESPN's breakdown has the Eagles at 18 in terms of the best position to acquire a legitimate player at the trade deadline.
That doesn't surprise me after they took on Dotson and everything like that. That doesn't surprise me at all. Middle of the pack? Yeah.
But Dotson's still on his rookie deal.
Yeah, but still, though.
We celebrated that addition because it was, wow, and look at the cap space they still have. When it's all written out, they're 18th. They're actually in the bottom half of the league in terms of being a prime position to acquire a big player. Tim McManus did the write-up. He wrote, several of the team's star players will see significant jumps in their cap numbers in 2025, including quarterback Jalen Hurts, who will go from $13.6 to $21.8 million. With $76 million currently committed to 4 players, Hurts, A.J. Brown, Jordan Mailata, and Lane Johnson, Philadelphia isn't in a position where it can spend too liberally in the short term to midterm and therefore probably won't add too hefty of a contract at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a veteran guy making $1-2 million, something like that, yeah. This team doesn't, honestly, they don't deserve that you go out and swing for the fences with anybody.
So that leads me to an interesting question that I believe is interesting. Somebody could say in the car that this is a stupid
I might tell you it sucks, so tell me.
I love Howie, and I think he's tremendous at what he does. But we always talk about, he's always got him in the best cap space. Well, in terms of this conversation, they're not. We always talk about how he always gets the steal. Kevin Byard was supposed to be a steal last year.
He was terrible.
He was horrible. Robert Quinn was a steal.
No, he's horrible.
Who was the other guy from Jannard Avery was a steal.
By the way, Jahan Dotson, for a third-round pick, he's been horrible.
Well,
he's been
yes,
horrible.
I'm focusing on the midseason
No, what
guys.
I'm saying is,
Golden Tate was a steal.
Whatever it is, he has not done well with this.
So
flat out,
especially when you see Devontae and these Amari Cooper being traded for about the same.
Right. So does Howie Roseman, and again, this is not me saying fire Howie or he stinks.
No.
Does he get a little bit too much credit for this?
Yes.
He always steals. Because
how many times am I going to have to see? You just gave a laundry list there. And I guarantee you, Monday and Tuesday of next week, Howie season.
Yeah.
It's Howie season. I got to tell you right now, stay in your house, pull the curtains closed, because Howie's season has not been good.
No.
It has not been good.
The last
So in
steal,
other words, stop it.
The last steal, at least in my memory, and somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, because sometimes, believe it or not, I'm wrong. Not often.
Jay Ajayi?
That is the last steal.
Yeah.
Because it was a fourth-round pick.
Jay Ajayi.
CJGJ, that 2022 year?
No, I'm saying mid-season edition.
My bad.
Jay Ajayi is the last one.
Because it actually worked.
It's the last one.
That's my guess. I think that's the last one. Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
You can give me a thumbs up, thumbs down out there, Mr. Pacheco.
That's the last one.
He's mouthing things as if I can hear him. We're in a soundproof room. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Was Jay Ajayi the last in-season steal that Howie Roseman had?
Because all the others, for God's sake.
Thumbs up. He agrees.
You just made a laundry list of bad decisions. Here's what I want Howie's season to be. After they win in Cincinnati on Sunday, I want Jeffrey Lurie to go private jet, and I want Howie coming off the plane like Silence of the Lambs. Strapped to the gurney, mask over his face so he can't put a phone to it, and I want him held there till after the trade deadline. No more giving away assets. No more giving away money. By the way, they are, I think Nerd Boy was looking the other day. I think it's like $33.4 million they have available right now towards next year's cap.
Right.
So that's a nice position to be in, and you know that he'll maneuver things so that gets up to like 50.
Now, here's the scary thing. I jotted down the top 10 teams that are on this article. Some of them, like the Raiders, are not going to be adding.
There's one bad in our division.
So, number one, with a cap space of $55.2 million, the draft picks that they have moving forward is the San Francisco 49ers. That's scary.
Yeah, but they're also in a little bit of cap issues. Like going forward after this year.
Well, because Brock Purdy's going to get paid soon.
Exactly.
But they have this takes into account the future. This is not just today. So Cleveland's number 2. They're not going to be buyers. The Raiders are number 3. They're not going to be buyers. The Patriots are not going to be buyers. They're number 4.
Wait for it.
The Lions are at 5.
Which is crazy as all get out.
The Commanders are at 6.
And the Commanders are set up next year with the second most cap space.
With a guy on his rookie deal, by the way, who looks like a player.
Scary. It is scary. I'm telling you, it's scary as all get out.
Now, this is going to be a hard decision for that ownership group and the GM. Are they going to try to expedite the process by buying this year, or are they going to say, we're not going to give up assets because this is still year one?
They are not going to expedite things.
I don't think so either.
I don't think they're going to this year.
Well,
No, off season, yes.
This season, yeah.
Off season. Not in season. I do not believe that.
I doubt it.
But I'm going to tell you right now, and I said it again the other day. If the Commanders beat the Bears with Marcus Mariota and the Eagles lose to the Bengals, I think it's almost definite that we're playing for a wild card.
I hope that's not the case.
You still got 2 games against Commanders, though. That's the big key.
What's the reason you would think you'd beat them? Like both games.
But I can't say that this division's done if you have 2 games against the
I
leader.
said most likely.
Most likely. Yeah.
I think most likely if they're 6-2 and you're 4-3, I think most likely they're going to win the division. And that's scary as hell.
I'm going to feel comfortable saying if Marcus Mariota plays, the Bears will win.
I hope so. You better hope we all better hope.
By the way, they're going to try. I saw Shefty tweet yesterday. They're going to try to practice Daniels today.
They're going to try to.
Which
I think is, by the way, In the long run, I think that's the dumb
I
thing to
think
do.
it would be extremely stupid
Dumb thing
of
to
the
do.
Commanders to do that. It's like
That may be a bluff.
It's not about this year.
That
but
may
it
be
would
a bluff.
It could be. It's competitive advantage, Johnny. Nick Sirianni would tell
Oh,
you
yeah.
that.
He's been quite the
All right.
competitive advantage.
Coming up next, we'll get a couple of your text messages on today's topics. But before we do our deep dive on Eagles-Bengals with Andrew DeCecco for the entire 8 o'clock hour, we have a little Phillies question from John Kincade about the championship window.
This is going to go over well.
It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
There won't be any dumbass hot takes here. Philly fans deserve better than that. You deserve the truth. You deserve logic. You don't deserve hot takes.
Smart, intelligent sports conversation that does not waste your time.
Now, we're going to go deep into hot topics, but they'll be always based in good logic and analysis.
Have you made the switch? Wherever you are, we are. Watch on YouTube weekdays 10 a.m. to 2. Listen on air at 97.5 The Fanatic and online at 97.5thefanatic.com.
I was at Benari Jewelers yesterday after the show, went over to Newtown Square, their gorgeous new showroom. My wife had already been a customer of the Exton location, so we rolled into the Newtown Square location because I want to get some stuff out of the way for the holidays. And I made the mistake, though. She ran into Rachel, who is the boss. She runs the place. And I got to tell you, the two of them went off on their own, and we're looking at all the gorgeous showcase of all the beautiful jewelry, looking at the diamond earrings and things like that. Man, I'll tell you, Benari's great. If you want to find great gifts for your lady, bring them on in. They're going to love both locations, Exton and Newtown Square. But you're
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. We were just chit-chatting with Andrew DeCecco during the break. He'll be joining us for the entire 8 o'clock hours. He does every football Friday before
He
an
says
Eagles
he's not
game.
paid till 8, so
Yeah, so
he's taking his knowledge outside.
He's just
Smart
sitting
man.
there, and I appreciate that. Real quick, we'll get to some text messages, then I want you to ask this Phillies question.
Do you now? Do you now?
The NFL needs to figure out some way to review certain plays. Did you see what
Okay.
happened in the Vikings-Rams game last night?
The
with
face mask where they yanked.
Yeah, and then he gets sacked,
Sam
and it's a
Darnold's face.
safety. And they're down 8 at that point. And so if they go downfield and score and get a 2-point conversion, it's a tie football game. Now, a lot of things had to go right, but the Vikings have been one of the better teams this season. And I'm not sitting here crying over the Vikings. Screw Minnesota. But
Missed calls.
like, that's horrible. You can't have that game-defying moment happen, and it's just, oh, my bad, because the referee said after the game, we missed the call.
Okay. First of all, I admire the referees for speaking up and just saying flat out what we know.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of referees that do not.
Yeah, you're right.
So I admire that. And honestly, I could see they missed it. I don't know what they were watching.
But I'm saying, like, in a moment, like, make it like a 2-minute left. 2 minutes, under 2 minutes, reviewable face mask. Like, I'm not saying pass interference. That was a horrible. Remember when they tried doing the pass interference thing?
I don't want calls reversed like that.
No, but like a face mask.
Yeah,
like
but you see, I don't want calls reversed like
Don't
that.
they care about player safety and all this kind of
I
stuff?
got you. I don't want where we're going back, and if you challenge, one thing. On challenges of calls that are allowed. I don't really want to get into that.
And I get it. I get why you wouldn't. It's just like that literally defined the game yesterday. At the end, it defined the game.
Well, yeah, it may have defined.
Obviously, there was 3.5 quarters of other stuff that happened.
And I
but-
didn't have any reason to believe that they would come back.
No, I didn't either. All right, give us a text there, Tommy, and then I want John to ask this Phillies question that we'll discuss.
All right, sounds good. We'll go to Jeff from Broomall, who says this. Just consider this when evaluating Jalen Hurts. With A.J. Brown, we are 3-0, scoring 82 total points with an average of 27 points per game. Without A.J. Brown, we're 1-2, 52 total points, 17 points per game. A.J. Brown has had a huge impact on Jalen Hurts'
Totally
success.
fair. I will say they scored 28 points in this past game against the Giants. One of them was an A.J. Brown touchdown. The rest was on the ground.
Yeah, and more what I would say, too, is that every team has injuries, every team misses players, and the Eagles are one of the deepest offensive sides of the board with talent
Yeah.
in the NFL.
Look, the Buccaneers game, you were missing both A.J. and Devontae
and you had a
Lane
stupid
Johnson.
game plan.
A horrible game
You
plan.
came
And
out
that's
and
not Jalen
passed.
Hurts' fault. That's,
And you came out
the
and
coach's.
passed.
That's the coach's fault. I get where the texter is coming from. I'm not trying to find ways to diminish Jalen Hurts. Those are facts. But the offense last week, he threw the ball 14 times.
Yep.
And that was the best the offense has looked.
If they had that game plan, last week's game plan against the Buccaneers game is probably a one-score game in the
It's
fourth
different.
quarter.
It's different. It's not 24-0 at one point.
Because that game got out of control.
All right, Johnny, how are you going to depress us today?
I'm not going to depress you. I'm going to ask you the question logically.
Okay.
Again, this is one of the questions. We go to the 2025 baseball season as the World Series begins tonight between the Dodgers and the Yankees. Is there any concern in your mind that the Phillies window has closed because of what other teams are doing? When I say it to you, the Yankees finally finding their groove and finally reaching their potential and getting to a World Series with a loaded roster. Making them more likely to keep Juan Soto here, by the way. And he's not coming here. Mm-hmm. The Braves are not going to be missing Strider and Acuna for the whole season.
Right.
The Mets have $180 million coming off the books, off the highest payroll in baseball. But $180 million coming off the books. They can buy whatever they wish, and their owner has already shown you that they can. The Dodgers now will have Shohei Ohtani as a two-way player next year.
Yes.
He will be in their rotation, and he's an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Does that concern you at all, that the opportunity you had the last 2 years, with the Braves pitching being ravaged last year, 2 years ago, the Braves losing their two star players. Imagine losing Harper and Wheeler for the whole year. That's what the Braves did this year.
Yeah.
Seeing what you see out of the Dodgers, Does it concern you at all that the window?
No. And here's why. A lot of the things that you just said, the Braves had Strider and Acuna before, and the Phillies beat them in the playoffs twice because they got hot at the right time.
And again, though, the Braves starting pitching was ravaged.
Yeah. Which it could be again next year.
Could be.
Right?
You
Could
never
be.
know. And they're
which
going
is
to
why.
lose.
Which is
and
why.
by the way, they're going to lose Max Fried.
Yes.
Max Fried's going to California. I don't know where he's going to go,
But he's going out there.
but he's going to California.
Dodgers.
He grew up a Dodger fan.
The Mets. You mentioned the payroll. We were all scared when the Mets had Scherzer and DeGrom and Verlander.
I was not, though.
I was.
I was.
Because you're
old guys.
You're anti
Yes.
3-pitcher thing.
I'm anti that from my years of covering the Braves.
I was fearful of it. It didn't work. So okay, they have a lot of money. What
And
if
they
they
were all
what
old.
if they once again buy the wrong players? If Juan Soto stays in New York, who are they going to buy?
Juan Soto's staying in New York.
Or with the Yankees, I'm saying.
He's either staying where he is or he's getting on the train and taking the 7 line.
If Juan Soto goes to the Mets, I will be absolutely terrified. If he stays with the Yankees, then okay, they have a lot of money to buy who? You know what I mean? Like
whoever they want.
right, but I've seen this story already unfold within this current Phillies group.
Okay.
Now the Phillies can get better.
But they've been
as
going
well.
backwards.
They have been. They could get hot in September, and the bats don't go cold like they did against the Mets.
But they're rolling it back.
Well, we don't know that for sure. Let's see how.
Step back,
let's
step
actually
back.
see how the roster fills out.
I'm just saying it's a scary thought to me.
My answer is no, but I understand your concern.
It's a scary thought to me, and I'm rooting for the Yankees to win the World Series.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the
Or
Dodgers.
for both teams to lose.
Or both teams to lose, or another earthquake, like they had the earthquake.
Well, we don't
the one
want
year.
that. I don't
No,
want-
the earthquake's fine. Just as long as nobody in
I
the
don't
teams
want anyone
gets
to
killed.
die.
No.
You know,
It's like
earthquakes are
anything
bad.
that disrupts the World Series. Maybe they cancel it.
All right, coming up next, Andrew DeCecco joins us for the entire 8 o'clock hour. So we do a deep dive into Eagles and Eagles-Bengals matchup. You'll get all that conversation coming your way next. Also, today's headlines with Tommy Alvord comes your way at 8:05. It is Kincade and Salciunas on this Football Friday, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
8:02 on this Fanatic Football Friday, which means we are joined by Andrew DeCecco for the entire hour. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Wonderful. Can't wait to talk Eagles-Bengals with you all day today. And, of course, can't wait to still kind of get some final thoughts from last week's game. We have today's headlines with Tom Alvord coming up in about 2.5 minutes at 8:05. But let's start with a closing of the book from the previous week. Eagles-Giants, what was real? What can continue? Your thoughts from that game?
Well, I think the defense is real. And sometimes all it takes is a couple of good performances. We're able to stack those, and you're seeing the pass rush start to come alive. And the Eagles faced the Browns at possibly the most opportune time for them because I think they're able to build on some third And it's a tangible thing to get that kind of production from your defense, and they're able to stack that. And I think right now what you're seeing is the second, third level are complementing each other, the pass rush and the coverage, and you're seeing Jalen Carter have more performances that he's been at his best. And when he's at his best, that's when the defense really thrives. So I think that they can sustain that. And then offensively, it seems to me that they're starting to establish an identity in terms of the ground game. When Saquon has the hot hand, I wouldn't overcomplicate things. Get him the ball and limit if the passing game isn't working or not as cohesive, then don't force it. Don't try to shoehorn, certain players into the game plan. Ride your running back and give him the football.
I am a believer that this team has turned a corner. But how dangerous is it, this Bengals game that we're looking at this weekend? Because Andrew and I both say, I don't think I've ever had less of a feeling of confidence about what we're going to see this weekend. Like what it's going to be. It's been so strange.
Yeah, because it seems like both teams, John, are turning the corner. So now the Bengals, from what I've been able to glean throughout the season, they play down to the level of competition. And the Eagles have dropped a couple that they shouldn't have. And so which team's going to be able to rise and meet the moment? I think if the Eagles are able to get out to a fast start, and I know that has not been the case through the first 6 games. That's been the primary talking point in terms of the offense. But if they're able to do that, they're going to be able to be right in the thick of things. But Joe Burrow's going to get his. He's a quarterback that he gets into an early rhythm. He might have the death by 1,000 cuts approach where he kind of slices his way down the field. But if the Eagles can get some semblance of a pass rush and get some hits on him, Joe Burrow's been sacked 18 times this year, by the way. I really do believe that could be a recipe for success. The Eagles have a lot of momentum right now, and I can tell you just from being there that you're seeing a sense of belief. There's the buy-in collectively, and this team's really, really tight and really together. So I do believe that's going to kind of manifest into a good performance on Sunday.
And I know on Monday when we had our check-in at 8:10, Andrew was already feeling confident right away about this Eagles-Bengals game, like right away. So we'll talk more about the upcoming game, all kinds of Eagles topics throughout the entire 8 o'clock hour. And if you have any specific questions for Andrew, feel free to text them in or call them in. It's the same phone number, 610-632-0975. Tom Alvord producing the show today. So just let Tom know when you text in, say, hey, question for Andrew, just so that we know exactly it is for Andrew DeCecco. So send those in to Tom. Speaking of Tom, it's time now for today's headlines with Tom Alvord.
Today's headlines with
Tom Alvord.
Oh, love it.
Hi, guys.
Yesterday, Brendan Gunn played a drop before during that moment and said the most interesting man in the world. And I couldn't help myself but say right away, you are not the most interesting man in the world.
That's mean, but also true. So I don't blame you there at all. What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Hey, Tommy.
All right. Obviously, we're focusing a lot on this upcoming Cincinnati Bengals game, but we've had a lot of Saquon Barkley love this entire week, and rightfully so. And I think something cool happened over the past couple of days where NFL released, I guess Saquon was mic'd up over the weekend, and we heard a little bit of audio on the tush push in the third quarter. Now, I think a lot of people had the mindset of, Saquon's probably pissed off that he didn't get a chance to get a second touchdown here, break records, whatever it may be. Listen, and I think it proves here that Saquon doesn't mind the tush push at all.
Do it again. Hey, do it again. Line up. Hey, line up. Do it again. Hey, do it again. Hey, do it again. Line up.
Here we go, back to back.
What's good? What's up? What's up? What's up? Line it up. Line it up. And you knew the play. Yeah, I already got mine. You ain't doing
I already
nothing.
got mine.
I already got mine. And you missed the open field tackle. You still a rookie.
I love that. And look, Saquon said after the game that he does not care about individual statistics and accolades. And there was the other mic'd up clip where Nick Sirianni asked him if he wanted to stay in the game to try to break his single game rushing record. And he said, no, let the young guys eat.
And I spoke to Will Shipley about that actually 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. How was that?
He said it really just speaks to the selfless nature, and he knows that there'll be other opportunities. And it meant a lot for him to have those were Will's first NFL touches in a regular season game to get him and Kenny involved. I think that speaks to Saquon's leadership and presence of mind.
Which you have pointed out since the day he got to NovaCare. To your credit, I mean, you're in the locker room every single day. You pointed out the leadership qualities that a guy like Saquon Barkley has. When we were concerned about the Kelce's leaving, the Fletcher Cox's leaving, you pointed out Saquon right away.
Is it vocal? Yeah. Is it lead by example, or is it a combo?
It's lead by example, the work ethic, and I think he picks his spots, like you saw on Sunday, where he's able to be that voice of reason, and his voice really carries a lot of weight. And it also helps when you're being as productive as he is.
Yeah, it helps. That really does.
Helps with sports talk radio, too.
Yeah.
And I love at the end there where he's like, you guys knew it was coming. You still couldn't stop it.
It's amazing.
All right. Next one here. It's World Series starting tonight. And we have a little bit of news from our Phillies. Unfortunately, it's not playing in the World Series. But Kyle Schwarber has been announced as a guest picker for College Game Day this weekend. Take a listen.
Hey, Hoosier fans. Kyle Schwarber here. Can't wait to see all you guys there on Saturday to cheer on the Hoosiers. And also can't wait to be the celebrity guest picker for College Football Game Day. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. Can't wait to see all you guys there, and go Hoosiers.
Hoosiers host Washington. Hoosiers ranked number 13. Is this what we were expecting to be talking about with Kyle Schwarber on today?
Not during the World Series. I wish he wasn't available to do it. But I could. A friend of mine is the executive for that show, and says already behind the scenes one of the best people they've already worked with, and he hasn't even been on set.
So
yet.
Amazing guy. My question is,
what?
Is he a big enough name nationally, Kyle Schwarber?
Yes.
Is he?
Remember, for them.
For them, Indiana, I know, for Indiana.
He's so huge.
Because I know they try to get somebody with local ties, but it's also the national grab.
He's going to be huge. It'll be huge. They're going to love him. He's amazing. The crowd's going to go wild.
Who else?
I think
Cody Zeller, Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a ton to choose from.
And I guarantee you'll probably see him. He may, chug a beer off set. He may do all those fun things too.
He's the next Jason Kelce.
He'll be fun with Coach Saban. He'll be fun with McAfee and all that gang.
Because he has the personality for it.
I could see a Schwarber and Kelce meet up at some point down the road.
I think Kyle Schwarber will more
disappear.
I think he'd be more likely to be the next John Kruk.
Interesting.
That's fair point. I can see that.
Than to be the next Jason Kelce.
You don't think he'll be out in front of the cameras like that?
No, but I said maybe like a John Kruk, where he becomes the color analyst,
like an analyst, but still zany personality,
but such a positive influence.
Yeah, and a very likable dude. Unfortunately, again, not what we were thinking we were going to be talking about with Kyle Schwarber today. And last one here, real quick. Obviously, been talking a lot about this Bengals game, as I mentioned, but John said something earlier that kind of make the ears perk up. Take a listen.
If we had 50 people, 100 people up and down about Jason Kelce and the loss of Jason Kelce and how are they going to do it, they've been totally fine with the loss of Jason Kelce. In fact, I got a good number from Pro Football Focus. Do you know they're pretty much exactly where they were last year as far as rankings, center play? They haven't missed one beat.
All right, and I get what you're saying because obviously Juergens has been fantastic. We've seen the highlights of him running down the field on a pull block and everything. I
sense a but.
There's a but. There's always a but. Don't you worry. The one thing, though, that I think when it comes to missing Kelce, we've obviously seen and heard Jalen Hurts talk about all the extra responsibilities that he's taking on, especially with the blitz this year without Jason Kelce. Now, he's fared pretty well with the blitz this season, but the way you said it is this team's not missing Kelce at all. Is it possible without Jason Kelce, part of the reason we're seeing a lackluster season from Jalen Hurts is because he's taking on so many more responsibilities? Now, obviously, Kelce was there last year, and Hurts had struggled, but could part of the reason be we're not seeing this wow type of offense we were expecting because they're without Jason Kelce, and Jalen Hurts obviously has taken on much more of a role?
Mr. DeCecco?
No, I don't think so because both Cam and Jalen have spent a lot of time and made a conscious effort to really establish that chemistry in the summer to answer any questions that a lot of folks have had. And I think you're starting to see them become more comfortable as the season goes on, which is why I attribute that to patience and having to get the reps with each other. But I think that it's been a really good addition, and I don't really attribute the slow start or the lackluster offense to the absence of Jason Kelce.
Okay.
All
right, Tommy, great job. That's
headlines.
today's headlines with Tom Alvord. Okay, you kind of touched on it. You said that you believe this defense is real. So we did our topic today. Our main topic today is, what is something that you did not expect to see that we have seen through 6 weeks so far this year? Can you give us one where it's a positive and one where it's a negative? Like for me, the defense playing as well as they have, being the better side of the football through 6 weeks is not something that I envisioned. I still think the pass rush needs to get better. We'll see how they play against better teams like the Bengals compared to the Giants and the Browns, but the defense overall has been better than what I expected it to be. What about you?
I would say, to be specific, the linebacker play. Zach Bond has been a revelation. And Tom and I have talked a lot about this on the Birds Insider Report going into the season about, I didn't think that they were going to be as bad as many were depicting them to be. I thought that they were going to be able to be in a replacement level or at least adequate, but I didn't think Zach Bond was going to look like the second coming of Zach Taylor or something, or Jason Taylor or Zach Thomas. But he has, and I think that it really speaks to what Vic Fangio saw in him and his acclimation to a defense, and he's playing a position that he really hasn't played a ton. So that, to me, was one of the more, I guess that was one of the biggest surprises for me.
I got one that I know you got right.
What's that?
You lectured me on patience with the offense.
Hold on. You save that clip for
But hold on a second. No, he preached patience.
No, he told me that it wasn't going to be what I expected. I expected them to go out and be the dominant offense that would just show out.
But I didn't want to be patient. I wanted to see it start off good because of the money invested into this team on the offensive side of the ball, and I needed them to win football games because of them.
That's what you wanted. That's what you needed.
And you know what, Andrew? I still have not seen the franchise quarterback play to the level of a lot of people's expectations. It's a shame that they dealt with injuries to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and I'm just starting to see the dominance of Saquon Barkley, even though he was great early on, but them utilizing him more. Screw patience. It should have been this way from the very beginning, but they didn't have a feel of what this offense was going to be.
But you're aggravated and I'm aggravated, and he tried to warn us so we wouldn't be as aggravated.
Not only me. Bill Colarulo said the same thing, and he also got laughed out of the building.
Bill Sirianni definitely did on that one.
Well, how about this? I was patient with the defense, and they've been very good.
See, we were very patient on the defense.
But remember, I said,
and everybody told us they were terrible.
But you both laughed at me when I said I think that you should be less patient with the defense.
I did laugh at you.
You did say that.
Because there was a lot of players that had some familiarity with some variation of Vic Fangio's defense, so it wasn't completely new to everyone there.
Well, wait a minute. Are you telling me what Kellen Moore's teaching them on offense is so radically different than anything they've done?
For the quarterback, it is.
Okay, tell me what.
Well, he utilizes the middle of the field a lot. There's a lot more motion. There's different formations. It's not as simplistic as the offenses that have been run in past years. So
why are they having to dumb it down now?
Well,
I shouldn't use dumb it down. Why are they having
to alter it? Is the proper
or simplify it?
Modify it. Yeah.
The coach said simplify. Like earlier, like I guess it was after the game. We'll use the word simplify. So. This one is why.
Well, maybe when you're trying to install so many different things, and if you're a quarterback like Jalen Hurts and you've had so many different coordinators in your ear, tweaking your mechanics, doing this, doing that, sometimes you have to simplify things and just play football, line it up, and then sort of gradually start to build the offense, which is why I was preaching patience, because it seemed to me that there was just so much newness there that for them to hit the ground running in week 1 in Brazil, it just didn't seem.
Now, can I ask you something? Why did they believe that they could do it? Because you and I have had the conversation about chunk plays 10 times now this year. Their obsession with it. It took them, what they're doing the last 2 weeks, they should have probably, Packers game's a little bit different because you had to go toe-to-toe offensively to beat that football team. But what you saw the last 2 weeks, I feel like I should have seen earlier on and then try to, once Jalen Hurts gets more comfortable with Kellen Moore, the things he says, the terminology, they don't play in the preseason. They don't,
which is, by the way, their choice.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Again.
So why wouldn't you try to, make it more difficult as the weeks go on instead of simplifying it or changing it as we go deeper into the season?
Well, to me, it seems like it might have been information overload to start the season, and sometimes when you're thinking too much, you're not playing fast, you're not executing. So you have to take a step back, hit that reset button, which I believe that they did during the bye week to find ways to accentuate what the offense can do best right now. And to me, that is, leaning on the hot hand right now, which is Saquon Barkley. And then eventually, I would imagine there's going to be weeks where Jalen's going to have to win games with his arm. I don't know that it's going to be this week, but that's not to say that next week against the Jaguars he doesn't throw for 350 and 3 touchdowns. I think it's going to be game-specific, but I think right now Kellen Moore had to kind of go back to the drawing board and find out what works best.
I'm a little concerned because as slow as they've started this year after we thought, and again, where they take training camp as, we're going to be really careful, put everybody in bubble wrap. I understand Nick Nurse and Nick Sirianni had lunch the other day. Next year, they may take September off using the Sixers strategy. They may just decide, Saquon, you're not playing in September. We'll be ready by like week 4. AJ, don't even play in September. You might get hurt.
By the way, I still agree with their decision not to play the starters in the preseason.
You do. Even though they're not prepared.
And by the way,
do you really think playing 7 snaps in the preseason is going to make that big of a difference?
I don't know. You know what, though? I'm willing to find out. I am willing to find out.
What about the training camp practices? Do they count for anything?
No, they do. But guess
you're
what?
getting reps there. That's where most of your work is done.
Against your own team and nobody's touching you. Because you're wearing a jersey that says, don't touch me.
No team's showing anything in the preseason anyway. It's vanilla.
But
so what are you able to glean from that?
There are quarterbacks that get sacked in the preseason, do they not? The pass rush is live, is it not?
Yeah, so in the second and third quarter where players are really vying to make the roster and they have something to prove. The first quarter of preseason games, if there are starters in there, and you can go back and look, this is common knowledge, they're not showing much. It's very vanilla.
Here's what I'd say.
Now, we did find out Moro Ojomo would make the team, and look, he's been one of the better players. Those preseason games were impactful.
I'm going to say, I'm going to say, let's try to do something like an Andy Reid does it. Try it.
The 6-0
Why not?
Chiefs.
Try it. Be prepared.
What do we have? I know we have a text, Tom. We have a text for Andrew Pacheco, a question for him.
Yes, we absolutely do. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, please. I would love to hear it.
Excellent. Sounds good as I prep myself.
I just wanted to ask to see if we had one.
Okay, sounds good. No, that's smart. All right, text here from Steven in D.C. for Andrew, who says, Andrew, if you had to choose one defensive lineman to get a sack this weekend that isn't Jalen Carter, who do you think that D lineman would be?
Somebody's trying to make a bet.
Somebody's building their parlay.
I love this question. I'm going to say Milton Williams. I almost wanted to say Moro Ojomo because he's been getting close. He gets a lot of pressure, but Milton Williams, to me, is going to play more and have more opportunities to get after that.
You're hanging out with Bill Colarulo too much.
That's true.
What do you mean by
that?
He's
a big Milton Williams guy.
He's been all on Milton Williams. I was like, I expected him in a Milton Williams jersey one of these weeks.
Well, hey.
Because they're available.
Well, I guess that would be that Bill's a smart guy. He
is? Okay.
He knows about Milton Williams.
Mr. Sirianni.
He knows about Milton Williams.
Mr. Billy
He certainly
Sirianni.
does. I'm waiting to see it.
Of course he knows Milton Williams.
Milton Williams has a sack.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, he had
good.
week 2 or week 3?
I'm waiting to see
Deshaun
more.
Watson, he sacked him. That was when Cooper DeJean came off the side, and Milton Williams cleaned it up.
All right, coming up next, we'll dive a little bit deeper into this upcoming game, Eagles-Bengals, matchups to keep an eye on for two teams that are kind of similar in terms of how the season has started. Slow, below expectations, but in a good position to be okay. Like, the Eagles are 4-2. The schedule lightens up. The Bengals are 3-4. They look like they can start winning some football games. So we'll talk to Andrew about that coming up next. It is Kincade and Salciunas on this Football Friday, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Big test.
Kincade Salciunas on this Football Friday, which means Andrew DeCecco in studio with us until 9 a.m.
He's been pleasant this morning.
He absolutely has been.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to focus a little bit more on Eagles-Bengals this segment. Last segment we talked about our main topics from today's show, which is Eagles-related, kind of tied a bow on the Eagles-Giants game from the previous week. Now, speaking of Eagles-Giants, I will ask you this for Eagles-Bengals, Andrew. Can you play the way you played offensively, which was not 14 passing attempts, but let's say 20 to 25, but it's more run-focused? Can you play that way, the way you did against the Giants, against the Bengals, and have a successful offensive day?
I absolutely think you can. And I think, to be honest, the sweet spot for Jalen Hurts is probably 20 to 25 pass attempts a game. And right now, Saquon Barkley has the hot hand. And I think if you're going to exploit or trying to attack the Bengals, where they're most vulnerable is against the run. So it makes all the sense in the world, almost too much sense, which makes you worry a little bit, I guess, to run the football and really start to establish that, eat up some clock, keep Joe Burrow and that offense on the sideline, and let Saquon continue to build on his momentum.
I said earlier to someone around the Eagles, well, why are we not seeing this reliance on Saquon Barkley earlier? And I got told something very scary, the idea that, well, you don't want to burn him out in September and October. You want him to be fresh for December and January. That scares the hell out of me, is that I want to see wins racked up. I want to see this thing stabilize where they get into it. And then hopefully in the month of December and January, early January, the schedule lightens up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to give them 25 carries. But right now, I want to ride the horse, man.
Right, and my understanding, John, throughout all this is that there's not going to be any pitch count, if you will, on Saquon Barkley. The Eagles are always going to do whatever it takes to win that particular game, because that's always the objective, win that game. Don't look too far down the line. So if that calls for 22 carries from Saquon, and if he's really in the zone and hitting the creases and all that, then that's what the game plan is going to call for. But I don't think he'll be restricted in any way, and I don't know that you can't concern yourself with December or January. You have to focus on getting through October and finishing and getting out to a strong start in November.
All right, so who are some of the matchups that we should keep an eye on? Eagles offense versus Bengals defense, and then vice versa, Eagles defense versus Bengals offense.
Well, I think Jalen Hurts is going to probably take a back seat in this game, Andrew, and this is why I think that you're going to be able to see the Eagles exploit the middle of that Bengals defense with Saquon Barkley, some between the tackles running, and even on the outside. I do believe it. If you lean on the run early, it's going to set up some single coverage opportunities for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. The corner that I would watch for the Bengals is Cam Taylor-Britt. He was a 2022 second-round pick out of Nebraska. Loved him coming out of the draft, but he leads their team with 7 pass breakups, and he has an interception, so he does have a tendency to get his hands on the football, so Jalen's going to have to be mindful of that. If he does, I would assume he's going to draw A.J. Brown in coverage. The second level of their defense, I think, could be exploited a little bit because they have Logan Wilson, a linebacker from Wyoming who I like, and Jermaine Pratt. But Grant Calcaterra has the speed and athleticism to really work that area, but the Eagles have been hesitant to exploit it, so I don't think that I would include that into my assessment. I think running the football is the formula for success.
The Bengals, I hate to look ahead, and you'll get into this with me sometimes, but I see an opportunity here. If you can get past the Bengals, you could get on a little bit of a roll, because honestly, the Ravens are the biggest stumbling block left on your schedule if you get past this game. Do you believe this Eagles team is a team that can get on a roll, can get on like a 22 roll? Or do you see that maybe there's not enough symmetry that they're going to be able to have that kind of a smooth departure?
Yeah, it's a great question, John. And the answer to your question is yes, I do believe that they can. And the reason why is, I do think that they have some talent. But what I'm seeing is you're seeing more of the togetherness and the connection, very reminiscent to the 2022 season. What I see is position groups hanging with each other. You see a locker room that seems to me very united. There's a buy-in there, and I think that's a direct reflection of their head coach, Nick Sirianni, and the culture that he's really established there. And whether it's young players trying to seek out information, older veterans taking younger players under their wing and trying to show them the way, there's just a lot of cohesiveness there. And I think that's a real tangible thing you can build off of. And the win against the Bengals, their confidence is going to be right through the roof.
Is this a game where Eagles defense will have to force a turnover one way or another in order to win. Now, last week you ran with the Bryce Huff sack again. You got it. That's 2 straight weeks. But the Quinyon Mitchell interception is yet to happen.
Right.
Is this a game where we need to see one in order for the Eagles to win?
I actually asked Quinyon about that after the game at MetLife, and I said, I thought this was going to be the week that you got the interception. And he laughed, and he said, I think I'm jinxed, man, but hopefully I'll get one this week. So I don't know if I'm going to go back to the well for a 3rd consecutive week, Andrew, but the Eagles absolutely need to get a turnover on defense. And I believe this is the week that it will. The law of averages suggests that eventually that's going to happen. I think they only have 2, and both of them have come courtesy of Reed Blankenship.
Yep.
But I think this will be the week. Now, if you're getting after the quarterback, and if you're someone like Josh Sweat with really long arms, that's where you want to try and finish the deal and swipe the football away from Joe Burrow and try to take advantage of those opportunities. But even on the back end, it feels like C.J. Gardner-Johnson's prime for one. I'm not necessarily going to call that, but I think that it's starting to set up that way.
That's where I was asking. That was my next question was going to be. To me, he's the most disappointing player on defense, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, because of what we were expecting him to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bryce Huff, there was the unknown.
Bryce Huff, right.
CJ, GJ, we're like, all right, we know this guy's a dog. We know this guy can force turnovers. We've seen it. So
you really do believe it's coming. Your eyes tell you it's coming.
Yeah, and what I would also say to add to that, John, is talking to Quinyon Mitchell after the game, he mentioned when asked about the communication, he was saying that, whenever we walk over to the sideline, that's where Reed Blankenship and C.J. Gardner-Johnson are really helping us with the communication piece, getting us in the right defenses, and really taking on that leadership role and communicating on the back end. So he's really helping the young players along, which I think is critical, but he's also improved as a tackler, which he was very tackling deficient earlier in the season. So it's starting to come together, and I think the next step for C.J. would be coming away with an interception.
Curious to get your thoughts on this, on how the Eagles should handle their game plan this weekend. We've seen the last 2 weeks, Nakobe Dean, hey, get after the quarterback, my man, just go. Can you do that against Joe Burrow? Can you just continuously try to send a 5 or 6-man pass rush, knowing that Joe Burrow is a little bit better than Daniel Jones and Deshaun Watson?
There's a smirk on his face. I'm thinking you're not going to like this, Andy.
Well, the Eagles have been able to get home with 4 because it's the sim pressure where they're still sending 4. They're dropping an edge rusher while Nakobe.
Right, we've seen Brandon Graham drop it. Last week was amazing against Malik Neighbors.
Yeah. So I think in order to have success against Joe Burrow and that high-octane Bengals offense, you have to provide pressure, because if you just sit back there in that zone coverage and give those cushions, well, Joe Burrow is one of the best in the business. He's going to find a way to dissect that and work his way down the field. So I think it behooves the Eagles to find ways to manufacture pressure early. So I wouldn't expect them to let up at all.
When you say manufacture pressure, are you saying you have to do something to disguise it? Or does manufacture pressure just mean...
He disguised it a lot.
He did.
Against the Giants.
I would think it's easier to disguise it against Daniel Jones than it is against a guy like Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but you have to try. I mean, you don't just want to sometimes play it straight up. But I think Bryce Huff, you see the confidence building in him, and he's finding ways to accentuate what he does well. Because he had to go back and watch film over the bye week to find ways of where he was successful and how his approach and sort of reassess his approach. And I think that when I talk about manufacturing pressure, that he's right at the front of the list for that.
All right, Tommy, what do we have on the text line for Andrew? I know we got a couple of questions coming in specifically for him. They don't want to ask us questions, John. They want to ask the real football guy the questions.
We get him in here and we ask questions.
Damn right. So what do we got?
All right, we got Sean in Levittown who says, Andrew, with the deadline approaching, who do you think the Eagles should or could go after to bolster this roster? You don't have to give a player, but a position potentially.
Yeah, good question. I wouldn't say wide receiver. I know that's the one that a lot of folks are going to. They traded for Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I mean, how many more can you invest in one position?
I mean, they traded for Jahan Dotson. It hasn't worked out thus far, but again, 6 games.
You're not going to give up on him already.
No,
Plus
of course not.
You have him under contract.
Of course not, but you'd be surprised about how many questions I got this week alone about
Cooper Kupp.
You think they'll get a wide receiver? You think they're going to get Cooper Kupp? You think they're going to get Myles Garrett? No, I don't. But I do think that maybe you want to look at your edge rush group and be able to fortify that area and try to make sure that you're able to sustain that level of pressure throughout the season when you really need to dial
But it's not going to be a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby, I imagine.
No, it wouldn't be a Jannard Avery, but I think it would be somewhere in between.
Are the Eagles? I'm curious because the Eagles as an organization, and I don't want to go too deep into this conversation. Just watching the Eagles, they wouldn't go after somebody like Von Miller, who is dealing with off-the-field issues right now. That is a player that a lot of people have tagged to the Eagles. Do you believe people are tagging them to the Eagles just because of the necessity at the position and ignoring maybe what else is going on in his personal life?
Yeah, and I also think they're looking at the age and thinking that the Eagles could probably get him at a discount, especially when you look at the legal issues that he's dealing with. But because of that, I think the Eagles stay away. The optics are bad. You could certainly find a better player, a more cost-effective player who maybe will be a piece for your future, maybe a fourth edge rusher, and just kind of bolster that unit.
That's kind of what I figured. All right, coming up next, we will get more text messages for Andrew DeCecco, some last-minute thoughts as he joins us up until 9 o'clock. More on this Eagles-Bengals matchup coming up next. Man, Andrew, we love having you in, man. We learn a lot more, John, don't we?
I think we do.
Yeah.
I blame that on Tom Albert being here.
I do want to play. I want to play the Greg Cosell audio for Andrew next. Get his thoughts on it. It is Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider update.
It is 8:49 on Kincade Salciunas 97.5 The Fanatic. We could get in a lot of trouble with the conversation that we just had.
Yes, we can.
With our wives.
Well, Tom's getting married in 2 weeks.
Yeah, Tom, we're going to give life advice to Tom.
So we've got
Tom
some stuff
Alvord.
for, we got a little marriage advice for Tom.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Are you ready for it?
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to do the whole 9 o'clock hour is life
Counseling,
advice.
yeah.
Sure,
it's
Scott will love
couples
it.
counseling. All right, Tommy, can you give Andrew another question that we've gotten from our audience? And we appreciate everybody texting in 610-632-0975. I want to get the question, Andrew, and then I want to play the Greg Cosell cut that we played earlier today.
Yeah, this is from Mike. He says, question for Andrew. Will the Eagles leave Fred Johnson on an island to block Trey Hendrickson, or will they double team him? Will they give him some help with chip blocks? Hendrickson, obviously an elite pass rusher.
Yeah, this is one of the big X factors going into this game and something to keep an eye on. I think that they're going to have to give Fred Johnson some help, whether that's helping him out with Jack Stoll, who's the Eagles' best blocking tight end right now, or Saquon Barkley. But Trey Hendrickson has 7 sacks and 15 quarterback hits. So that's a player you have to be accounting for.
He's a menace.
And Fred Johnson's been much better against the run. He's been better in run blocking, so I think that you have to give him some help.
So why you were going up against one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL last week, one of the best pass rushing defenses in the NFL in terms of sack total.
I know where you're going with this.
Why is your game plan to start pass? Why? It makes no freaking sense to me. And oh, by the way,
It's our
they
identity.
left Fred Johnson on island. They didn't have anybody helping out with chipping. I mean, it was one-on-one, Brian Burns versus Fred Johnson.
And it didn't work,
Who,
yeah.
by the way, was playing right tackle early in the year, did say to media availability, it's hard to now all of a sudden play left tackle. I remember Andre Dillard once said, imagine writing with your right hand your entire life, and then all of a sudden you're asked to do a paper with your left. That's not an easy switch to make. Why the hell was that the start of their game plan?
I think they were just simply trying to test out the Giants secondary and make them respect the fact that they had to pass.
Yeah, but test out. You're lucky it didn't get intercepted. You're lucky Jalen didn't get hurt. You're lucky that Jalen didn't get sacked and it's a fumble, and then you let the Giants to be in a football game, which you don't want. That, to me, is stupidity.
But what I will say to that, Andrew, is when Fred Johnson had to come in against the Saints, the Eagles' offense didn't miss a beat.
Correct.
Saquon Barkley had a touchdown. When he had to come in on that last drive, I guess it was the 45-yard touchdown to Devontae against the Browns, he was in, and 3 plays later they score. So I truly believe it. They feel, at least, that the offense wouldn't get off without a hitch with him in the offense. So I don't know. I think that was their thought process going into that.
6 first quarters, 0 points, Andrew.
Right. But
0 points in 6 first quarters.
But I just believe that their thought process was we can still move the football with Fred at left tackle, and they didn't think they were going to be as restricted as they were, and they found out quickly that wasn't going to be the case.
It would be like Zach Wheeler coming out in the first inning of a playoff game and saying, I know I can throw heat, but I'm not going to today. I'm not going to go to my fastball. I'm going to go to my secondary pitches and try them out instead of going with what I do best. And that is the thing that fascinates me. The head coach is the guy who sets the agenda. Mm-hmm. And to me, he's always trying to be too cute. He's always trying to outthink, well, they're going to be expecting us to do this, so we're going to throw them a curveball and do this.
So does that make you nervous going into this week, knowing that it sets up for a run-heavy game? It sounds so obvious that it feels like we're going to see the opposite.
Especially if the Bengals score. Let's say they have the ball to start, and they score a touchdown. You know.
They're going to be pass.
The sphincters are going to get...
that's all they do.
It's unbelievable. All right, before we let you go, Andrew, we appreciate the hour. We always freaking love it. It flies by. I don't want to say too fast because it's a Friday, so I like it. But here is Greg Cosell on the Ross Tucker podcast earlier this week talking about Jalen Hurts.
They're a difficult offense to watch right now. Jalen Hurts is not playing very good football. They're a running football team. Their defense has played a lot better the last couple of weeks. Now, people can say they beat the Giants and the Browns, and that's fair because those are two of the lesser offenses in the league. But if you just look at what they're doing and how individuals are playing, they're playing better on defense. But the Eagles can't sustain, if they want to be a true playoff team, they can't sustain the way they played last week. Your quarterback has to be a bigger factor. Jalen Hurts, for whatever reason, Ross, and he's played a lot of football games, and you do them in the preseason, so you're familiar with him. For whatever reason, he's just not seeing things clearly right now. Basic concepts he's not seeing, and that really handicaps and hamstrings your offense when your quarterback just can't execute basic concepts, and that's what he's struggling with right now.
I wish we had more than a minute, but your thoughts?
Yeah, Greg Cosell is my guy. We've had some really good football conversation at the Combine and at the Super Bowl back in 22. So there's no agenda with Greg. It's all strictly based on tape, and that's been pretty much what I've been able to glean just from watching it for 6 games, and I watch every game multiple times. The field is narrowed, and the offense is limited because Jalen has an aversion of throwing over the middle. He's infatuated with throwing outside the numbers, and until he's able to kind of get outside his comfort zone and break some of those molds, it's going to be an offense that's going to look a little bit more compressed than you would like.
That is absolutely true.
How does that make you feel, John?
No, it doesn't make me feel good. But your thoughts on you think it's a win on Sunday?
I do. I think the Eagles win that one.
You've been saying it since Monday, man.
You've been saying it with your chest.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like 24-17.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, all right.
Now, guess what? If Joe Burrow and the Bengals on their home field is kept in the teens,
the defense is amazing.
Then what you said is today's to start. I really believe in that defense.
Quinyon Mitchell.
Andrew, listen, man, we appreciate
job,
it. Can't wait to talk to you Sunday during the pregame show.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to that as always. What's the schedule for you the rest of the week?
I will be at NovaCare later today, and yeah,
you don't work tonight.
No, I don't work tonight. There's no show.
Haunted Hayride.
There's no show, and so tomorrow and tonight and tomorrow I'll be doing some relaxing for the first time in a while.
Yeah, here's the problem.
What about Sunday, buddy?
I'm on Sunday with Tom. I'm on Sunday with Tom.
I'm on Sunday with Tom.
Tom Alvord and Kevin Cooney.
Here's the thing. I know. I can just tell by Andrew. He doesn't like that he has relaxation nights coming up.
No, he's going to be all right with it.
No, I'll be doing a little bit of work.
You're going to be doing film studies. All right, 9 o'clock hour continues. We reset the entire show. We have our pick segment coming up at 9:30. It is Kincade and Salciunas on a Football Friday, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles looking. Salciunas on a football Friday, 97.5 The Fanatic. Reset the entire show. Don't forget our pick segment comes your way at 9:30. I texted Connor Thomas. Connor is off his brother's wedding. The festivities began last night, so I didn't text Connor till just now because I'm sure he did not have a 4 a.m. alarm set, and I'm sure he did not have any alarm set, and I'm sure he's probably still trying to sleep. So we hope to get Connor's picks. Connor.
Well, no, here's what I suggest. If you don't hear from him in the next 5 minutes, Ray, you are making Connor's picks.
Tom.
Tay. Tom.
Tay.
Tom is
What's
making.
up, Tay?
Tom is making Connor's picks for him.
Third time's a charm.
Tom is making picks.
No, but Tom is making the picks that will count for Connor.
Ah, okay.
It's fine with me.
So
Okay.
I
What are
want
the
you.
Panthers looking like
I
this
want you to
week?
make the 4 worst picks.
No, don't do that.
Our records right now: John and Connor tied 16-12, and
We're all doing pretty well.
We're all up. I'm 19-9.
You're doing really well.
Having
You're
a nice
3 games
Humble
up.
brag.
Having a nice.
No, he's
nice couple weeks.
11
and 1.
11-1 for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Started off a little slow.
There's only one way to go, and that's down.
Yep.
See, that's what I felt because I got off to the great start too, and it brought me back a little bit to earth.
The books always find a way, don't they?
They do.
All right, so we'll do our pick segment coming up at 9:30. And I want to check the text line a little bit. Again, here's our topics today. What is the biggest miss that we had leading up to this Eagles season? Because John said this to me off the air yesterday, and it led to today's conversation that this game is so hard. Forget handicap in terms of betting.
Like,
just
just
to
to
try
get
to
a feel,
figure out.
right?
Yeah, because you're going up against a team in the Cincinnati Bengals that, like you, had a slow start. Eagles record-wise slow start was better than the Bengals, but the way they played, and remember, they had the Jamar Chase fiasco going on, but Joe Burrow is playing so much better than Jalen Hurts, but the Eagles are 4-2. The Bengals are 3-4. The Eagles defense is playing better than the Bengals defense, which is probably why the Eagles have a better record. But there are some players on the Bengals defense that are better than what the Eagles have. So it's such a weird game to have a feel for. And that's why all week long we haven't had a chesty Eagles fan check in, but we also haven't
a chesty Eagles host.
Right. But we also haven't had like the negative Eagles fan. I don't know, Tom.
No.
You're manning the text line, and you also work at night, so you would have a better feel than we are because of what you see on the text line. Have we had any Eagles fans chime in saying, "Oh, this is the game. Joe Burrow's going to gash the Eagles defense for 40 points"? I haven't heard any of that.
No, and I haven't seen it at all in the text line. You know why I think it is? I think this is just such a big checkpoint game for the Eagles as a team and as fans. I think we're ready to jump all in this team if they can go out there and beat the Bengals and Hurts looks good. But at the same time, we're hesitant because if they lose, and if they lose big, which is obviously a potential, if the offense continues to struggle, then obviously fans are more hesitant to buy in. So I think it's because this is such a key game here. We're going to learn so much about this team in this game. That's why this week's been a little bit quiet.
So, Tom, I'll ask you. John, you and I talked about this a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Tom, if the Eagles lose, Pete Prisco, who covers the NFL for CBS, he was the first person that I saw that put out his prediction. Get Up started doing it yesterday, but he did his Wednesday night, and so we used it for the show yesterday. He predicted the Bengals to win 30-20. He didn't explain last-minute touchdown to make it 30-20.
Yes, exactly.
He didn't say it was 30-13 and the Eagles score a touchdown. All we know is he's predicting the Bengals to win 30-20. That is a 10-point defeat for the Eagles, in case you needed help with your math there. If that were to be the case, if that's how the game played out, the Eagles lose by 10, would you be saying, oh, wow, so it really was just the Giants and the Browns that they beat?
Obviously, it depends how it looks. We all know that. But my just initial thought after seeing that score would be, it would probably lean more to, look, they're showing signs, and defensively, of course, again, this week means a lot, but they've been showing signs. I like what I see from Quinyon, Cooper DeJean. The defensive line looks better. But at the same time, I would say despite some of the good signs that I've seen, the positive signs, especially running the ball as well offensively, you face two really bad offenses, and the key, you face two really bad offensive lines here. And I think you've been able to kind of dictate the past two games because of how bad the offensive lines and the offenses have been for the other team. So, unfortunately, my mindset would kind of go to maybe this team's not as good as we were hoping.
And that goes back to what you said about this checkpoint game.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of these games where if the Eagles win,
It is.
Andrew DeCecco gave us a score of 24-17. So let's think about this. Pete Prisco 30-20. That means Joe Burrow probably gashed up the defense a little bit. They weren't able to feast on Daniel Jones and Deshaun Watson, who sucks, right? They weren't able to feast on Joe Burrow. They weren't able to slow down Jamar Chase. Obviously, they slowed down Malik Neighbors, but look who's throwing the football to him. This case, it's Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. The Eagles' offense, once again, could not really get things going, and they only scored 20 points. If it's Andrew DeCecco's prediction of 24-17, we're talking about a very good defense, a defense that did get to Joe Burrow, who's been sacked a lot this year. The secondary's real. And, oh, by the way, the Eagles probably controlled the clock with a run-first offense that worked again if they win 24-17.
All those things probably happen. All those things you're going to hear Cooney talking about it after the game along with Tom.
Yep.
That's what they'll be talking about. That would be a ball control. If you hold the Bengals in the teens, I will actually be at that point I'm intoxicated thinking this team really, really has found their way.
Yeah.
That would intrigue me more than just winning the game, or even if they put up 30.
If they held the Bengals
If they held the Bengals in the teens, I'd be like, okay, I'm really starting to believe this thing is for real.
Yeah, because that could mean a lot of different things. That could mean you see a turnover defensively, which we haven't seen a ton this year. That could mean that the defensive line's getting to the quarterback, as you mentioned, Andrew. That could also mean that maybe that run game's continuing to work, and you have an opportunity here against this Cincinnati Bengals defense. So, obviously, there might be some things that don't look as good on Sunday, but if you get a 24-17 win, 99% of that is, wow, this team is really going in the right direction here.
Just a couple more notes for this game, by the way. The ESPN, they do this every single week. They do like the things to watch for each game.
Sure.
The game that they highlight first is this Eagles-Bengals game.
The game that got flexed out of
which is amazing,
a
right?
national broadcast.
And remember, Adam Schefter did say himself when he joined us the other day that this is the game that he would probably keep his eyes on the most.
Because I think people do believe in national analysts in the back of their head that they haven't seen the best from either one of these teams yet.
Right. So here's the Eagles storyline to watch. Tim McManus writes this one up. The Eagles rushed the ball combined 81 times over the past 2 games, 10 more than the next close team for 385 yards. Saquon Barkley is second to only Ravens' Derrick Henry in rushing yards per game and is coming off of a 176-yard performance against his former team, the Giants. Cincinnati has yielded 136 rushing yards per game and has given up the second most rushing first downs of 65.
By the way, that is what Cincinnati radio believes is going to happen.
That the Eagles will continue to run all over
That the Eagles are going to gash them that way and that they are going to run right at their pass rush.
So first play is a deep shot downfield.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I say it.
Well, the last 2 weeks would lead you to believe by those numbers that they've learned a lesson. But the best way, and this is even Bengals radio telling me,
right,
is when people run right at their pass rushers, they're useless. So that's got to be part of the strategy.
Why does part of me think that Sirianni's heard all the chatter about Burrow and Hurts this week? Jalen Hurts has kind of kept this on his mind, even though he says he doesn't take the rat poison, where they want to go out there and show that, we know we can run the ball offensively, but look what our pass offense can do. Look how good Jalen Hurts is. And, he had a slow start to the year, but he's right on par with Joe Burrow. Why does part of me think that's going to be the game plan early?
The beauty
because you are a pragmatist. So you're being realistic about your team.
He's not. He might not be wrong. The beauty of you being in today, Tom, when you weren't in yesterday, is that I get to ask a question again. We already gave our answers, John. Yesterday, we got into the discussion of whether or not Sunday is a measuring stick game for Jalen Hurts because he's going up against Joe Burrow. A lot of Eagles fans try to diminish what Joe Burrow has done so far this year because of the Bengals' record, even though individually he's played better than Jalen Hurts, but the Eagles are 4-2.
By far he is.
Yes. 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
He's playing top 3 or 4 quarterback in the NFL.
We ran through, CBS did this power rankings for quarterbacks, and Hurts was number 11 outside the top 10. Burrow's number 2. Are you, Tom Alvord, using this game as a measuring stick for Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to, in my opinion. And look, just if he goes out there and struggles, doesn't mean that it's a lost cause for the season. Like, he still has opportunities to go out there and prove it. Other measuring stick games are going to be seeing Lamar Jackson in a couple weeks. Jaden Daniels coming up.
Stop scaring me.
But especially with the way that the Cincinnati Bengals defense is vulnerable. I mean, Jaden Daniels had, 2 incompletions a couple weeks ago against the same defense. And because we've heard these comparisons, every time you see a top-tier quarterback, Josh Allen, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, we're always going to have those conversations about our quarterback. So because he's been solid this year. You guys said mediocre. He's been solid this year, in my opinion, because obviously the Cincinnati Bengals defense is vulnerable, and because you're facing Joe Burrow, I think it's absolutely a measuring stick game.
And Tom, what you said there, the Jaden Daniels thing is in my notes. Jaden Daniels literally did not put the ball at risk. He had his way with them.
And Hurts is not the last 2 weeks.
What I would say is he threw the vast majority of his throws were within 12 yards of the line of scrimmage.
And it was all to the right side of the field.
Correct.
All of them. All of them. And that's why the one thing I'm going to keep a close eye on with Jaden Daniels moving forward this season is, do defenses start going?
Well, they will.
All right, that's where it keeps on going, yeah. So we'll see how it plays out. The Bengals storyline, Ben Baby, by the way. It's a great name.
Is that Lil Baby's cousin?
Maybe.
That was Dub Baby's cousin.
Dub Baby's cousin? There's so many babies
Blueface
now.
Baby? Yeah, well.
There's so many babies.
He covers the Bengals for ESPN. Their storyline to watch: Cincinnati's offense is looking to rebound after a rough couple of weeks. In back-to-back wins, the Bengals have scored touchdowns on 16.7% of their drives, which is half of the team's rate from week 1 through 5. Philadelphia's defense ranks 10th in fewest points allowed per drive. I stand by it. If the Eagles are blanked in the first quarter,
you say loss.
I think they lose.
I'll join you on that. I'll join you.
I think
believe
the
that's
Eagles
the case
need
too.
to score points in the first quarter this week.
You can only rely on your young, inexperienced defense to keep you in games for so long, man. Like, it's great that we're seeing these signs from the defense, but you can't just keep putting them in these holes early on where, just hold them to 0 or 3 points in the first 20 minutes of the game. We'll catch on eventually.
And we weren't doing the whole, hey, they just beat the Giants, they just beat the Browns. But
correct.
To that point, you can do certain things against the Giants and Browns and get away with it. You cannot score in the first quarter against the Giants and the Browns and get away with it. There's going to come a time as the season goes on, as other offenses are getting better, as you are playing better teams, like this weekend, for example, the Cincinnati Bengals. You just saw it against the Bucs 4 weeks ago, before the bye. The Bucs were up 14-0 in a blink of an eye. The Eagles had no shot of coming back in that football game. You can't allow that to happen this weekend. You just can't.
I don't know if I honestly don't know if the conversation with you and Tom this morning has made me feel better or worse about where I'm leaning, and I swear to you, I've never had a game. I've never had a game like this where I just feel like I just don't know what they're going to do, and mainly it's because they outthink themselves so often.
They do, and it's not like I'm saying that and saying
no, I got you.
They're not going to score in the first quarter. I just need them to score in the first quarter.
Absolutely.
Put together a game plan that works. The data is in front of you. Your own data, your own team. And what Cincinnati struggles against is running the football. Don't get cute.
Well, if them not getting cute is one of the keep dreaming. But maybe this will be the week.
I sure hope so. All right, what do we have on the text line, Tommy? You can text the show or call in at 610-632-0975. Same phone number for both.
All right, here we go. This is from Colby in Central PA, who says, biggest miss, seeing the team go lights out. He thought he was going to see the team go lights out early. Coming into the season, I expected dominant performances, and I haven't seen one aside from shutting the Giants down to 3 points. I want a larger margin of win, points nearly by win and points nearly every single series. Team is too talented to not be able to do so. Biggest hit, Saquon being able to hold his own. Expectations, Birds win 27-24 this week.
You know what's funny is, though, I think the Eagles have made some of the listeners, though they're not very chesty about it, believe in them again. We were having so much. So. There were people last week that were picking the Giants to win.
Yes, there were. I had it as a push. I had the Eagles winning, but I had it as a push.
Right.
The line was 3. They had done nothing to that point.
I thought they'd win by 10, but I didn't think it was going to be, like, sexy.
Yeah. And to that point, they did nothing for you to think that they could. But they now showed you, to your point, last week allows Eagles fans to go, all right, this is what I was waiting for. This is what I thought they could do. And until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. But they saw it.
Yep.
Finally saw it. Seeing is believing. That's what they said in the Santa Claus movie.
Yes, that is in the
Seeing
Santa
is
Claus
believing,
movie.
believing isn't seeing, whatever.
And we believe in Santa Claus on this show, by the way, 2 months from today.
Yeah,
You'll be
right.
opening up
Merry
your
Christmas.
presents. Your first married man Christmas,
Oh, yeah,
Wow,
dude. That's
I didn't think about that.
which is a critical one. Do you have? It's on my list for you. Do you have? You want to make her smile? Is she listening?
Are you going to do a Benari Jewelers
probably.
read?
No.
Or am I going to do a family Jewelers read? What are we doing
How
here?
about a go to the mall
Okay.
as soon as they open up the little stands and get an Our First Christmas
Oh, yeah, it's a big one.
with her and you,
Adorable.
and have them monogram it with your names.
Yeah, it's a big one, man.
It's your first Christmas.
Gotta
Put the
do it.
year on it. Do that. You get it though, and you give it to her when you get ready to decorate the tree and everything.
Well, I was going to say, because we're probably going to get 15 things similar to that when it comes to wedding gifts, like first Christmas together, first this, that, the other.
I'd be
I have
surprised
to
if
get it
someone gave you the personalized ornament.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if someone goes that route. By the way, it's pretty cheap if they do. It's a cheap little gift. It's like $10.
Yeah, but
man.
it's emotional.
$12.
It's an emotion.
Cheap
No, but
family.
it's something you should do for her.
Okay, that's good advice. I appreciate
Not
it.
only do we have the first married Christmas, we have the first Cooper Christmas one.
So do we.
I got, this is how sentimental I am. I got the first pregnant Christmas ornament.
Wow.
Nice. Good job by you.
It's 2 snowmen, and the mom
She's
snow
got a
woman,
belly.
she's holding the belly.
Or she could be Joel Embiid after the Olympics,
Dude, come on, you're gonna have that
Could be
guy.
after
you're gonna
that.
have that guy tweeting at us again.
which is a good one there.
I'm trying to think what I got Christy a popcorn maker. For our first married Christmas.
Is that something she loves?
Oh yeah, she loves.
Well,
popcorn.
then that's it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a beautiful thing.
I think we're doing, because we're going Hawaii for the honeymoon.
Right.
I think we've kind of agreed on, hey, let's not go too crazy.
A toned
for
down
Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah, just for this.
I would just remind you that, and the great Dan Reeves, one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, told me when we were getting married. He said, anyone who tells you marriage is 50-50 is lying to you, and they're going to end up divorced. Marriage is 100-100. Because if you're not
I like
100,
that.
if you are not 100% committed every day, because she's going to hate you 3 days a month. I'm just going to warn you. Like 3 days a month, you're going to piss her off so much. But if you're not 100% committed, one of you will find a reason to go, I don't want to do this anymore.
I'll take those odds. 3 out of 30.
100.
3 out of 31.
Well, oh, yeah, that's good. Believe me.
3 out of 28 though.
Ah,
in
yeah, February,
That's-
I got one.
No, February, she always wants to just
you're
crush
in
you.
trouble in February. All right, give us one more text, Tommy. We got our pick segment coming up next.
All right, this from Nick in Reading, who says, biggest miss for the Eagles, bringing back Big Dom back to a 1-year franchise tag deal. He's underperforming just like the head coach once
Look,
again.
I'm serious. I ripped Big Dom a couple weeks ago.
What for?
The Sirianni yelling at the fans
Oh,
thing?
I got you.
No,
It's
dude.
he has one job.
Instead of being in front of a camera and be like, look at me, your job. You didn't do your job.
You got one job to do. It's to look after the wandering teenager at heart.
Right.
And you let that happen, which is ridiculous.
That's
to me.
on him, man. Look, if we're going to hold everybody accountable with any sporting team, right, we ripped the hitting coach.
He's got one job
He got
to
one
do.
job. And you let him go. And that became a national headline where the head coach is being called a clown by former NFL players. That falls on you, Big Dom. Now, don't come after me because you could probably kick my ass. But I'm just saying.
I think you could outrun
that
him.
falls on you.
You could outrun him.
I don't know, man. He's got the golf cart.
Yeah, well, that's good. I don't
The
think
personalized Big Dom golf cart.
I just have that's your one job.
Yeah.
Keep him acting like a mature adult. Good luck with that.
I still can't believe the Big Dom effect.
I can't.
Remember
even,
last year?
No, I
it was
just can't
after the
even-
suspension.
Oh, yeah.
Don't even start me with this.
All right.
It's so annoying.
Coming up next, I'm going to save you and go to break now.
Thank you.
He's going to come after you.
Because I'll say something. Yeah, and I actually could run into him.
We're going to do our pick segment coming up next. We'll check out a couple more of your texts. We'll get our final thoughts on the Eagles-Bengals. We got to give a score prediction. I don't know where I'm at.
Guess what? It's 9:21, and I do not have mine.
Yes.
And I always do.
I usually have it written down before the show. I don't have one yet.
And I keep missing the trash can.
Yeah, you stink.
Sorry about
Kincade
that.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports.
final hour of Kincade Salciunas is presented to you by The Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. You need details? Go to Bagster.com.
It is 9:31 on Kincade and Salciunas on this football Friday, 97.5 The Fanatic. I got to check the text message. Oh, there is a response from Connor Thomas.
Oh, there is. So he got his picks in. No?
He's got his picks, yeah.
Oh, good. Well, we got his picks then.
Yeah, okay. All right, Tom, you're still giving yours, though. Don't forget. All four, man. All four.
That's good.
I put Tommy to the task. All right, give us some football music there, Tommy, and we will give our picks. So Connor was 4-0 last week.
He was. You're still sitting in the catbird seat, though.
Yeah, but in the terms of golf, it's his honor. So I will tell you Connor's picks.
Where's he going?
Connor has all 4 games, 3 spreads, 1 over-under.
Okay.
He has the Atlanta Falcons to cover the 2.5 against Tampa.
Okay.
He has the over, in Jets-Patriots, 41.5.
Wait a minute. Oh, wow. So he's expecting a big one. Over 41.5.
2 slop teams, but okay. The Dolphins, he has covering the 4 against the Cardinals.
Gosh, I hate that one.
And he has the...
Wait a minute, that's a 4?
Yeah. It's actually not a bad bet because Tua's back, but Arizona's playing good football.
I think Arizona's playing good football.
And lastly, the Eagles, he has at
getting
plus
2.5.
Plus 2.5. So those are Connor's picks. Falcons minus 2.5, Eagles plus 2.5, Dolphins minus 4.
All right.
Jets, Pats over. All
You're
right.
next.
I'm next. I'm going to keep riding with it. I think it's hit 4 weeks in a row. Jahmyr Gibbs over rushing yards, 64.5. Vegas continues to keep him low because of the tandem of him and David Montgomery.
I think they're thinking there's 1 week that they've actually overthought themselves.
I'm just going to keep on going.
What is the number?
64.5.
Wow. Okay.
It was 61 a few weeks ago. It went down to 57 last week. It just keeps on hitting. Eventually, it's going to bite me in the rear end, but I'm going to keep on going with it.
You've already cashed in 3 times, I believe.
Jahmyr Gibbs over 64.5. I like the Bills to go to Seattle and cover the 3. They're 3-point favorites. I know it's always tough playing in Seattle. Seattle, I believe, will be without DK Metcalf. He did not practice yesterday.
It certainly looks that way. Yeah.
I like Tyler Lockett. I don't know how much I like Tyler Lockett without DK Metcalf. And I know everybody's excited about Jackson Smith and Jigba getting his opportunity. But,
opportunity being the key word.
But the Bills, look, they keep on winning football games. And right now, Josh Allen is my MVP.
Okay.
Because I did not think they'd be this good because of all the weapons that he lost and that defense getting old or inexperienced in 2 different areas. And they keep on winning football games. So I like Gibbs over 64.5, Bills minus 3. Kareem Hunt to rush for over 66.5 yards. They're going up against the Raiders. I expect him to be leading and then running the football.
Over 66.5.
And this one is weird to me. Rashad White, running back for the Bucs. Over under receiving yards is just 20.5. They're without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Once those guys got hurt, last week he had 71 yards receiving. He would have hit over 20.5 in 3 games so far this year, and that was with the full complement of players. I'm taking the over Rashad White 20.5 receiving yards this weekend against the Falcons.
All right. I think that could work for you on that one. That's not bad. How about this? Devontae Smith, over 58.5 yards receiving.
Okay.
Devontae Smith after being negative 2 yards last week.
Yeah, you're going to ride the bounce back.
I know how the coach does things. He's going to be because he's worried about feelings and he's worried about it. And Devontae's damn good anyway. Joe Mixon versus Indianapolis. Over 73.5 yards rushing. Things are going to be moving for Mixon this week. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a big week. Breece Hall. Now, I've ridden him twice. 2 of the last 3 weeks. Over 68.5 yards rushing against New England. And DJ Moore versus the Commanders. Commanders have one weakness. Top wide receivers for opposing teams are averaging over 100 yards against them. So that looks good when we have A.J. Brown go up against the Commanders.
Yeah.
DJ Moore over 73.5 yards rushing in this one. So we've got Devontae Smith, Joe Mixon.
Receiving.
Receiving, excuse me. Receiving.
Like, wow, you're going to make a lot of money if that
Devontae
hits.
Smith over 58.5, Joe Mixon over 73.5, Breece Hall over 68.5, and DJ Moore over 73.5 receiving.
All right, guest picker, Tom Alvord. You're our guest picker today. We're just like College Game Day.
Yeah.
Yes.
We bring in the big guns to be the guest
Who's kicking the
picker.
field goal?
There we go.
All right, so I asked Connor what I had to do in these picks, and he gave me very little information. He just said 3 games and a prop. So
I told you.
I went 4 props.
You did.
I went 4 props. Do whatever you want.
The picks were already made, Andrew. I'm not going to adjust.
Okay.
this show. Come on now. So I am giving you 3 spreads and a prop. The first one I have, I like the Bears -3. In Washington against Commanders. I don't think Jaden Daniels is playing. Marcus Mariota had a good game last week. I understand that. I don't think Marcus Mariota is very good.
It was the Panthers.
It was the Panthers. Caleb Williams and the Bears coming off a bye. I think Williams starting to play some good football here. So I like the Bears -3 on the road. This one feels ugly doing it. I'm going to hold out hope one more week. I have the Cowboys +4.5 on the road against the 49ers.
Wow.
I keep talking myself into this is a good regular season team. I know they've been horrible defensively. I know they've had some injuries. Dak doesn't look good. One more week, I'm holding out that maybe the Cowboys can do something in the regular season. So, and coming off a bye, by the way, +4.5, I'll go with the Cowboys. And this one here, Raiders +9.5 against the Chiefs. Now,
okay.
The Chiefs' last loss actually came to the Raiders. That was last year on Christmas.
Yep.
I feel like the Raiders always play the Chiefs relatively well. 9.5 is a big number in the NFL, especially when the Chiefs' offense does not look all that good. So I'm going to go Raiders +9.5 in Las Vegas, by the way. And then a prop for you, going along the lines of what John was talking about with Devontae Smith. How about +200, Devontae Smith to find the end zone on Sunday?
Wow.
Had 1 catch for -2 yards last week. You know that they're going to be pushing to get him the ball a little bit extra here. Might be a high-scoring game potentially. So I like Devontae +200 to score a touchdown. Always like when they're in the 200s there. Bears -3. Raiders +9.5 and Cowboys +4.5.
All right.
There you go.
Good job, Tommy. We'll keep your record.
Please don't.
You guys both consider yourselves baseball guys, right?
Yes.
What if the Chicago White Sox wanted to hire you for a
Oh, my God, I forgot about that.
position, and they said you want to apply for the position, you have to answer 5 of the 10 questions in less than 250 words or less.
And what's the position?
You want to join their analytics department, their scouting department, their online.
Just anything.
Everything.
Yeah.
But not for like ticket sales and everything.
Right.
This means you think you're a baseball guy. You two think you're baseball guys. Tell me what question you're answering. What is your favorite defensive metric to use when evaluating a position player and why?
I don't believe in metrics.
Eye test.
Okay, so that's not good.
Here's what I would do. I don't know if there's a metric for it. I'm sure that there is. Recognition off the bat.
Well, you have 10. So, I mean, you got 10 questions. You only have to answer 5.
All right.
How would an automated strike zone at the Major League Baseball level affect how catchers would be valued in your mind?
I'd probably answer that one. That one's interesting.
Would you pick that answer?
Yeah, because framing kind of doesn't matter
Goes
anymore.
away, yeah.
Identify a player the White Sox should look to acquire via trade or free agency this offseason.
Mike Trout.
What would it take to acquire this player? Why would you recommend they target him? In a hypothetical situation, your team is the first overall pick. The top 2 players available are a position player, a high school position player, and a college pitcher.
Hypothetical. How many wins they have this year?
No, it's because you're not going to be making that decision for this year.
Okay.
First pick overall, a high school position player would be the top players. High school position player or a college pitcher. Explain why you would value one concept over another.
I'd answer that one.
I'd go college.
Would you answer that question though? Would that be one?
I would think about it. Yeah.
Let me see. There's a bunch of other questions here. How about Luis Severino as an impending free agent? Project their contracts and support your answer.
Interesting.
You're a pitching coach preparing for a series against a new team. What are some of the key metrics and statistics on the opposing hitters you consider?
Does the opposing team chase pitches outside of the zone on a consistent basis?
In terms of analytics and technology, where can baseball organizations look to gain a competitive edge in the coming years, and what should they rely less on?
I'm surprised they give you these questions before so you can prep for them. I feel like that's more of an
No, you have to submit them to get an interview.
But that's what I mean. To get an interview.
You submit your answer.
I would answer that last one. The what would be something that you look less at?
250 words or less. And by the way,
people do that on Twitter every day.
Another baseball team did this last offseason, and they had a bunch of people answer in AI.
Sounds about right.
And they literally were checking.
Did they hire anyone?
They did hire 2 people.
Oh, interesting.
2 college grad, but not that used AI.
Okay. Well, yeah,
but
of course.
There were people cheating.
Yeah.
Thinking that they wouldn't check and see if they were
sounds about
using
right.
AI.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Ain't cheating, you ain't trying, John. All right, coming up next, we have the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 presented by our friends at Von C Brewing. And then we'll give our predictions on this game. And it's 9:42. I still don't have one. So you'll hear finally what I believe next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
There won't be any dumbass hot takes here. Philly fans deserve better than that. You deserve the truth. You deserve logic. You don't deserve hot takes.
Smart, intelligent.
It is 9:48 on Kincade Salciunas 97.5, The Fanatic on this football Friday. We're almost done, Johnny. Mike Missanelli show comes your way at 10 o'clock, and I get to turn off the alarm for 2 days, which is really nice. I got Storybook Land tomorrow.
Nice.
That's fun.
Yeah, Cooper's first show. John had no idea what Storybook Land was.
Never heard of it.
The old stomping grounds for myself.
I know, well, because you're from the shore, so that makes sense that you would know exactly what Storybook Land
It's going to be packed. Good luck.
Yeah, it's a Halloween thing, too.
Yeah,
we didn't know when we bought the tickets that this is like a Halloween weekend.
You're going to have to get an Uber to park 40 miles away.
Really?
Parking's going to be tough.
I haven't been there since I was a little kid, so I don't remember it. Okay, great. All right, it is time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, presented by Von C. Brewing Company.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Like, I have no idea what the hell's going to happen this weekend. I'm obviously hoping for a victory, and I'm hoping that they continue to play well on defense and the offense finds this identity that I can't believe it's taken this long to try to figure out what the identity is when we all kind of knew what it was before the season started. You know, I hope all these things happen. I'm just not 100% sure. Joe Burrow is playing like his hair's on fire right now. Like, he's playing very good football. The Bengals have won 2 straight games, just like the Eagles have. Their last loss was that incredible game against the Ravens where it went into overtime. So I don't know who this Bengals team is actually after their slow start. I don't know who this Eagles team is actually. So we're going to talk about Eagles-Bengals and the feel that we don't necessarily have on this game. But
my hands aren't even operating. I mean, it's like I got no feel in this game.
Do we have a feel on this team? Period is a question.
What the hell was it Joel Embiid doing?
Resting.
So after the Olympics, instead of preparing for his full-time job, he was resting and obviously put on weight that he has to take off. How the hell do you do that? How do you do that? It's your full-time job. Playing the Olympics was this nice little side thing that you so wanted to do. It was your third country of choice, but it was what you so had to do. And then after the Olympics, what'd you do? Sit on the couch and watch Saved by the Bell and stuff your face? Like what? Why are we dealing with your star player who you just gave another $190 million to?
Yes.
Guaranteed. Having to be on a weight program. This isn't a damn Ozempic commercial. He's not dancing on his front lawn.
Can you play the way you played offensively, which was not 14 passing attempts, but let's say 20 to 25, but it's more run focused? Can you play that way, the way you did against the Giants, against the Bengals, and have a successful offensive day?
I absolutely think you can. And I think, to be honest, the sweet spot for Jalen Hurts is probably 20 to 25 pass attempts a game. Right now, Saquon Barkley has the hot hand. And I think if you're going to exploit or trying to attack the Bengals, where they're most vulnerable is against the run. So it makes all the sense in the world, almost too much sense, which makes you worry a little bit, I guess, to run the football and really start to establish that, eat up some clock, keep Joe Burrow and that offense on the sideline, and let Saquon continue to build on his momentum.
I don't believe Jalen Hurts has had a great season. I don't think he's had a bad season. I do find it interesting that his best 2 weeks have been the last 2 weeks where they have started having him do less, which I've been asking for.
Correct.
This isn't something I just drew up because I saw it. John is my witness. I've been asking for it since like week 2 to simplify the offense because I don't like the explosive plays and the obsession of it. And since they have simplified the offense a little bit, I'm not saying it dumb it down because Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback.
He doesn't need to have it
I'm saying
down.
Simplified, shorter routes, handing off the football, run first offense. He has played his 2 best games.
They're not going to be a top 4 seed with this strategy. And then you're going to tell me that they're going to turn it on, that miraculous switch. They're going to turn it on and go on a run in the playoffs to somewhere they haven't been in 24 years. Damn, I'm telling you, some of you people
now, I will say this.
Absolutely gullible.
I will say this. I think it is crazy. And you did say yourself yesterday that you will either be very right or very wrong.
Very right or very wrong. Absolutely.
There's only 2.
No, it's good. No, but it will be the very will be the
right
thing. Because right now I'm hearing things like, oh, it doesn't matter to them.
Well, I think it's crazy to say that this strategy, which we know as of right now is 3 games in the back-to-backs, there's no way they're a top 4 seed. I do believe it's crazy for you to say that already. All right. That is the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. 3 best minutes from today's show. Brought to us by Von C. Brewing Company in Norristown. Check out their Key 3, the Stony Brook East Coast IPA, which is an American IPA with citrusy hop notes and a smooth, dry finish. Uncle Jerry's Wit, a Belgian-style wheat beer. And, Tom, I would like to introduce you to German John.
And the Helles, the golden lager from Munich. You want to grab yourself a Helles this weekend in beautiful downtown Norristown. It might be uptown. I'm not sure.
That's pretty good.
It reminds me of Munich, though, every time I see Norristown.
That's German John. German John introduced himself to actual Germans the other day.
And they were entertained, so that's good.
Did we know that to be true?
I think they were entertained. Yeah, I think that was the word. Fake news. Yeah,
I don't know if that's true. Connor never really told us if his family actually enjoyed it or not.
Connor's like an enigma.
By the way, I got to call him out. Violation on Connor Thomas.
Okay.
Check out VonCBrewing.com. Find out where you can pick up their Key 3 today. Tom, I was at an establishment yesterday that you may have received paychecks from. And Connor was at the Target right next door. Heard that I was there with former buddies of the station.
And he wouldn't come over?
Like Jamie Lynch, Bob Cooney. He didn't come.
That's terrible.
He was too busy, he told us.
Dirtball. That's what
That's right. He's right next door. Come in for
a block.
Didn't even have to have a beer. Just say hi.
Just say hi.
It's right there. It's literally, they're basically connected.
It's rude is what it is.
What's the score?
I don't have one.
27-23 Eagles. And the Bengals will make us sweat. Eagles will be up, and Bengals will make us sweat with a late score.
27-23 Bengals,
I was about to say 20.
So you go opposite me.
I go opposite you. I think the Bengals pulled out this
I
week.
was about to say 28-24 Bengals.
I think you've been hanging out with Kevin Cooney too much.
No.
By the way, it's worth listening to, though.
28-24 Bengals.
Sometimes.
Gets me out of that traffic.
But 24
after
points means they score points. By the way, coming up next is the Mike Missanelli Show. Brian Dawkins at 10:15.
Sounds great. Are you kidding me?
That's awesome.
Hey, join our generous partner, Davis CPA Group. Hey, Ron. Make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it today. 975thefanatic.com/AACR, because cancer research saves lives.
Yeah, so B-Doc at 10:15. So
that's awesome.
20 minutes from now, he joins the Mike Missanelli Show. Nick Sirianni speaks to the media at 11:40, and Tim McManus joins him at 1 o'clock. Everybody